Hello and welcome to a bit of a special episode of something on the channel. So today we're looking at Don't Starve, and we'll be trying to survive for 100 days. If I say trying to, and I will be, I've actually finished this, recorded it, and what you'll be getting is my commentary, going based off a notebook that I've half filled while I was doing this, because yeah, you don't want to see the unedited version of this. To put this simply, each day in game is, I think, about 8 minutes worth, and 100 days. There's a lot. You know, if you could watch it, just the raw footage, it would probably take your entire day watching it, just back to back. So with that in mind, now, what's prompted this though is originally I noticed, and thank you all for this, by the way, that the channel has recently hit 100 subscribers. In fact, it went past it quite a long time ago. It's been well over, I think, 2 months. I want to say it's been that I've been doing this. It was a while back. I think it went over the 100 mark back in April. So it's been a couple months, but of course, again, working a full-time job and trying to edit this monster together, it's fairly difficult to find the time, as you can likely imagine. So without further ado, I'll get into this. But yeah, just to kind of put into perspective, just to again, each of these days is about 8 minutes, and I thought what would be good for the 100 subscriber special. My initial thinking was, well, there's a lot of these 100 video, you know, I survived for 100 days in whatever, usually Minecraft, going about a bit at the moment. I've watched a few myself. Well, I've got 100 subscribers. I could do something special for the 100 subscribers. 100 days surviving in something would make sense. And well, what survival games do I actually play that I'm not bad at? And Don't Starve came to mind. It's just hit its 10-year anniversary, just as I hit my 100 subscriber mark. So pretty good opportunity, I think, there. Nicely all fits together. So just remember, for those of you who have subscribed up to this point, just give yourself a pat on the back, because you are personally responsible for a full day, 8 minutes of my suffering. Pat yourself on the back. So the next thing that I should probably go over is the rules for this. So there's no, like, it's not a challenge or anything. I'm not going to be putting it on super mega hard mode. I'm just going to quickly show the world generation for what I did at the beginning. So these are the world settings. I've not changed anything since. You can revive at the Floyd Poster and you'll lose a bit of max health and then you have to regain it. Mostly it's just I've not been on the game for about, it must have been definitely at least a year, but I think possibly 2. So yeah, I think it's been 2 years or so since I've played the game. There's been a lot of changes to it since. I think I stopped playing just as they added the new, the new farming mechanic. So it's been a good while since I've played. Most things are default. I think there's also, yeah, I've turned wildfires down a little bit. And what else is there? I think the only other thing I changed was, let's see, yeah, I kept everything else default. Yes, it was the antline tribute. It really annoys me. Especially in the world that I'm playing, and you'll see why. But yes, the antline tribute is the biggest of pains, and that's why I just, generally speaking, don't typically keep that on at all. And then everything else is basically all default and things. So in the caves, there's less cave worm attacks. And I think that is it. That's all I've changed, yeah. So, nothing crazy. But the big thing is the mods. You'll notice I've got quite a few. We've got 37 mods. So I'll quickly run through them and we'll get into how the rest of the game, well, we'll get into the actual gameplay and commentary of me trying to go for 100 days in Don't Starve Together, having not played it for several years and then stuffed it full of mods. So the first thing is the achievements and leveling system. Basically, as we do stuff in the game, be it killing things, eating cooked food, or generally just surviving, and there's even achievements you can get. You'll get skill points, perk points, that sort of thing. There's a difference. I think if you, just by leveling up and getting XP, you get skill points, which you can use to increase your base attributes. But by getting achievements, you unlock special perk points that you can put onto special one-off perks that can give you bonuses like being immune to freezing, or yes, like immune to freezing, immune to heat, or stuff like that. So there's some really good perks in there, but those are very difficult to get because you need to get certain achievements, which usually come from beating bosses or like getting certain amounts of things or killing so many enemies, that sort of thing. Some are easy, some of them are very difficult. We've got the all roles. So since I'd be playing alone, I've given myself a few abilities. You'll see it in game. I've basically, because going back into this after a few years, I want to kind of experience all the characters and their abilities and that all at once, and I don't have to play 5 different games in order to do that. So I just thought this is a nice way of doing it. So I think I've given myself, in fact I can check here, we've got Willow's lighter and teddy bear, we've got Wolfgang's bench pressing and lifting and stuff that you can do. Wendy I enabled just because I'll be playing as Wendy. Wickerbottom, so we can create books, we can craft. We've basically got the book crafting menu, and Wes for balloons just for the fun of it. We've got Winona for crafting base defense items and duct tape and that. We've got Wally for the additional food recipes, and just kind of, since I was going to be experienced with new farming mechanics, I thought, well, I might as well have the full repertoire of things to use with that. And then Walter, so we get a pet dog off the start, because again, it is what is it? Yeah, it's basically just can't change. Yeah. So yeah, we've given myself pet dog because again I'm playing on my own, and it's Don't Starve Together and I'm alone, so that that's inherently going to increase the difficulty a lot, so this is just one way of just toning that down a bit. We've got animal variety, so that it'll change the colours and hues on them a little bit. We've got Gem API just because it's needed for the mods. We've got the archery mod. This adds crossbows, bows and even muskets to the game. However, the animations aren't quite properly lined up in that, so you'll just see that my character, when they attack with it, they just kind of swish the bow and arrow or the musket or whatever like a sword. There's no sound effects, but it does fire the projectile at least. So it's kind of an abandoned mod that's being picked up by one person, then that got abandoned and picked up by another, and this is like the bug fix for the bug fix for the picked up version that was first abandoned. And yeah, getting this, I'm just happy this works, to be honest, given its history there. We've got a B-flow status bar. If we get a B-flow, we can see how it's doing based on that. Boss scaling, so the bosses will have less HP depending on how many players there are. So full HP, I think you can even configure it so there's additional, HP when there's more people, but it starts off, basically, it lowers the overall HP of every boss and then increases it based on the player count. The other ones we have enabled, we've got craftable gears. They take a lot to create. It's like loads of rocks and gold and things required to make them, but just because, again, the size of this map, you'll see when we get to the later mods here, the size of this map can mean that sometimes finding things, which is why the antline tribute isn't on, Finding things can take a while, again, because of the sheer size of the damn map. I think I can safely say by the end of this 100 days, I've probably only explored half of it, maybe not even that. Maybe like a third of the map is explored. It is that enormous. Some extra style gear, we've got the extra equip slots, always useful, because I never understood why you wouldn't be able to have a backpack on you while you had armour. It doesn't make logical sense. I mean, it makes sense from a gameplay perspective, I guess, but it's also just annoying. We've got some bombs you can craft, a craftable gladius sword, global pause. You didn't used to get the auto pause on single play when playing a server single player, which you do now, so I probably didn't need this, but I put it on anyway. Grenades you can make out of gnomes. Now we're getting some of the more interesting stuff. So health extended. So since so far we've made the game significantly easier with some of the mods, this kind of undoes some of that. So we can get bleeding and injuries. Bleeding will slowly drain your health. Injuries can be things like taking knocks to the head, breaking your arms, breaking legs, which can impact movement speed, make you drop your weapons when you swing. It can weaken your attacks, that sort of thing. So we've got that. It works on enemies as well. You can cause enemies to bleed, and the poison system that's in game has been moved into this health extended thing here, so it works with that instead. We've got heaps of foods, and I mean basically just, you know, adds over 100 plus brand new crockpot dishes. Yep, that's all I need to know. So yeah, I've no idea if the brand new biomes in the ocean works, because we've got another mod that really messes with world gen, but we've at least got some new recipes there. Help me up, mostly for if you're on multiplayer, you can just if someone dies, you can revive them and pick them up rather than them having to go to a Floyd postern or get an item used on them. You can just go and pick them up as long as it's within a time limit which you can set here. So quite nice. So Let Me Sprint allows you to run at the cost of stamina. I believe I've got it set to use double stamina while you're running, and you can't run when your hunger is below a certain point. So yeah, it's basically it drains hunger at the cost of, well, you can move faster at the cost of draining your hunger. This is always a weird one. I've kept this on for ages. I've had it God knows how long. You can create like a rocket ship with a gnome on, and it sends it up into the sky. It goes off like a little firework, and then you get some resources. Just a weird little mod that I got ages ago at the beginning when I started first playing. It's never gone out of date, and I've just always kept it on because I just found it funny. Got some marble weaponry, some additional armor sets. We've got a box that you can use to pack up large objects like science machines or things like that and move them rather than having to destroy them and lose the resources. We've got new tents that we can use, so different tent types, ocean currents that can spawn in and help you move around, a party HUD so it shows other players, and follower badges so that we've got the same for companions, which is useful playing as Wendy. So we've got both those HUDs there. We've got a portable tent that you can move around with you. We've got using the same items to repair each other enabled. We've got a rope bridge we can craft. I think I didn't even know at this point that they'd added dock tiles to the game, which could be used instead of this, though the dock tiles do require you to go and get a whole slew of like schematics and things. We've got RPG items, so items can come with special effects on them that can be make them attack more or self-repair over time or things like that, and this works well with repair combine. We've got shields. So you'll have noticed at this point one of my gripes with the game is that the combat is absolutely awful. By adding these shields, which go into a separate slot on your character, and then you can press the Alt key to raise them during combat, and you'll just take the hit on the shield rather than taking it yourself. The shields, the ranged weapons, and the different health modifiers and things should all make the combat a bit better. And we've got some little health bars as well to help with that. There's some spike traps. The steampunk is kind of added as like an end game thing to aim for. You get these like cool steampunk things where you can build little robots that help you around the place, and you can get like special like steampunk axes and armor, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, I've had to disable the forge item pack. This will cause me all kinds of problems, as well as the throwable weapons. Both of these just bug out for me now when I combine them with everything else. We've got thirst added to the game, so again adding a bit more difficulty in after lowering the difficulty a bit. So we now have to keep our thirst monitored. On the plus side, if you use tea rather than just water when you're doing this, it's actually a really easy way to maintain sanity. So it swings and roundabouts whether it's more difficult or less. And then we've got the Tropical Experience Return of Them. This is a giant game overhaul that adds all of the DLC content from the single player title into this. And this is why the map is huge, because it will it adds the Hamlet Caves, the Together Caves. It's got the there's Pig Ruins. There's it's going to add 30 plus islands in an archipelago, and they're going to contain the shipwrecked stuff. There's going to be a moon biome, Frostlands. There's going to be what else is there? A royal palace from Hamlet and Swinesbury on a continent, each of them. And yeah, it's going to be this. Honestly, we barely explore this map during this. It will barely get explored because it's so massive. And so, on that note, we spawn in. So, on the first day, mostly, all I get up to is I just explore. I find some moose goose spawn locations, but not a whole lot happening. But yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, there's one moose goose spawn location there. And we generally just do the routine thing. If you've ever started a Don't Starve game, the first thing you do, you just go around and you just collect resources. You absolutely, you just collect everything that you can and just explore as much as you can. You'll notice there'll be these, like, streams going through the area. Those are added in by the first mod. So it adds these, like, little... I think the mod was originally created, yeah, there's one there on the left. That it was created before they added the boat and stuff, like the shipbuilding and sailing content into the game. So it wasn't designed for that. However, I think over time people have picked up the mod and modified it a bit and got it working still. So they used to actually spawn sometimes in the ocean, but that seems to have finally been fixed by the people who picked up the mod. We can also use the ponds there, but I think it's also, you can now, if you take a bottle up to the very sides of the map, up to like the coast, you can collect water from the actual water, but I think it's impure and you have to kind of boil it and distill it and that. And so yeah, the first day was mostly just exploring. I do have an issue though where I've not found any flint at this point, and you'll notice as we walk around here there's no flint. I was actually beginning to worry if it was some kind of glitch and it had just not spawned flint anywhere in the first starting biomes, which that would be a problem, it certainly would. So I make a torch instead, and we just hold that until the night comes. But of course now, night on this game is not necessarily a bad thing to have a torch. It means you can still actually do things at night. Like there, we've found ourselves an old skeleton and some fishing gear on them. So if we wanted to go fishing, we've found some gear now. But we can still keep going and doing things even though it's dark. So we'll go around, we can get some more exploring done. We can even pass through this bee biome without necessarily disturbing the bees because they're all in their hives asleep. So it has its advantages. A little goal that I'm trying to move towards here is creating a flower garland so that it will prevent sanity loss. And always a good shout when you've just started the game. Wendy though is already inherently just kind of good at dealing with sanity. She's the character that's best at dealing with that. But she's a bit weaker as a result, so she's not the strongest of characters. And on that note, day 2 starts. So day 2, essentially, it starts with me creating my garland. So this will help deal with sanity loss as the game goes on. It gives us a little bit of sanity back every few minutes. And as you can see, so at the moment we've got pretty much full sanity in the top right there. And again, Wendy doesn't lose much sanity. She loses less sanity while in darkness. So, and on that note, we've just found a nice rocky biome here with a tall birding. So what this will do is gives us access to a nice amount of boulders we can mine for gold and other things. And you'll notice here we've found this wet ground. Now, what that means is, part of the first mod, we can dig that up and build a well there, which will give us a renewable water source that we don't have to boil to get the impurities out of. So this is looking to be a very nice base location. We've got access to gold, we've got access to it's in a starting biome like the bright green forest biome. I'm not quite sure what to call it. It's probably got like a term from the code on the wiki or whatever. I've always just called it the green forest. And I've called the other one the dark forest because one's bright green on the map and one's dark green. I think it's meant to be like the grasslands or something really, but I can't say for certain. But it's looking like a nice base location. And so, since we're in such a nice location, we kind of, well, I decided to settle in for the night, which is soon to be upon me, and I kind of just mark this up as just being a nice location that I may wish to build my base in. Because it's, again, access to food, access to rocks that I can easily mine in the area, pretty good. But with that, the campfire is built, we've gathered a few logs, we start cooking things up and having a meal, and that will be the end of day 2. So on day 3 we get off to a very good start here, we get to mining, and you'll notice this I am mining. So as I mentioned, I've kind of rolled a bunch of characters into one here. And I went with Wendy because I've got the most skins for her and I like her ability, like her innate ability in that. I think Abigail is great, but we've also got the other abilities, at least to a certain extent, rolled in. One of which you can see on the top right, we've got a little like bicep doing a flex, and it's at 80. That's our mightiness. So by doing manual labour or by lifting weights, we can increase that, which allows us to then become mighty, and it allows us to then attack much stronger than usual. So one of the weaknesses of Wendy is, well, it's literally that she's weak. She's not very strong. But now that we've got Wolfgang's abilities kind of rolled into her, she can make herself more powerful by doing a bit of working out, and it allows me to beat monsters, kind of be on a bit more even footing with monsters. Again though, we are still playing alone, and the things that that scale enemy health only work on bosses. The things like tall tall birds, in fact, as far as I'm aware, are still at their normal health that they would be if there were 6 of you, potentially. So, take it as you will. We've also summoned Abigail, so you'll see her throughout the playthrough. Wendy's ability, she can summon her dead sister. And if you interact with Abigail's flower in your inventory, you can tell her to be aggressive or to be more passive and stay close by to you. And I've accidentally left her on aggressive mode here. But we've managed to use this as well as our current boost to strength, which the strength, by the way, will diminish over time, and it does so rather quickly. It's more of just, you know, you can lift some weights and do some chores, boost your strength up just before you're going into a fight, and it will probably last you for that fight, and it'll be gone by the end of the day, most likely. So, but we've used that to kill a tall bird, so we've now got a nice bit of meat, which has been quite good. What happens next here, though, now, this seems to be part of the first mod, and you'll see it in a moment here, but I wasn't aware that it actually did this. I thought these spawned randomly on the map, but apparently no, it's from when you gather these statues up in this particular, what would you call this, set piece that spawns in. There you go. It can spawn in a marble fountain. And I was thinking at this point, because this gives you a source of water. And now I've got this here, I might not even need to build that well. This may well be a spawning of an infinite water source. So I'm at this point thinking, oh my god, I have to make this my base. So, definitely a big base location potential here. But on that note, we'll be ending day 3. Now, day 4 saw me following a cobblestone path, which led into this forest, and then it became a dirt path. And the thing I was thinking was that usually, but not always, the cobblestone paths tend to lead you to useful things. Things like the Pig King or Pig Villagers. Cobblestone paths tend to lead to important areas on the map, in the map generation. So I'm kind of following it around, at which point and you might have heard them then, we bump into spiders. So I keep exploring around though, and day 4 kind of ends on that note. We've found some spider dens, and we've explored a little bit. And this is one of the reasons I love Abigail, because especially during darkness, she is incredibly powerful. She does area of effect damage around her, and it is incredible for clearing out spider dens. The utility you get from this is absolutely ridiculous. And again, the darker it is, the more damage she does. So with it now being evening time, she's now able to 2-shot more spiders. And you can clear out entire dens with this. So pretty useful. But we keep following that path. And as expected, the path has led to a little pig village. Quite useful. So there's a nice supply of berry bushes and grass here that we may wish to utilise. But then we find this, this is definitely on the unusual side. Underwater entrance. Now, unlike the wet ground that you can build wells in, this is something else entirely, and I've not seen it before. So I go ahead and jump in, and the game kind of freezes up here as if it's loading something. And of course, to no surprise, it is loading something. So we appear to have kind of found something similar to the caves here, but what could it be? And my only thinking is that it could be related to that tropical experience mod. It must be some kind of additional underground area. And my hunch here does prove to be correct. We get immediately loaded into some kind of strange underwater area where we are slowly losing oxygen and being asphyxiated. As you can see on the right side, we've got a lungs icon now that's going down. Not great. And there appear to be fish everywhere. So I'm assuming this is from the Shipwrecked DLC and it's kind of been ported in somehow. Another recent addition to my mod list there you've seen in action, it's just a client one. It allows me to move around UI objects by holding down the right click. So anyway, realizing that I'm going to slowly asphyxiate, I quickly take my leave here. And with that, I'm quickly back outside as if nothing had happened. And we're just going to ignore that area for a little while now. But on that note, we get right back to killing some spiders here. It looks like as well there's a good chance we'll get some pig meat, is what I'm thinking. So we come out victor, and we now have a ton of meat. A ton of tasty, tasty meat. And we're pretty much set for probably a good week or two. You may have noticed though, now, we haven't had a day 4 night time here. So while we're loading between those areas, the game is actually still going. It's obviously, it's Don't Starve Together, it's a server. And so what's actually happened is in that loading time, night has passed and most of day 5. So it's now at the end of day 5 and I've just kind of paused here. I'm looking at the top right and I'm like, did I miss a day? So with day 5 over, I quickly get back on that path, following it along its full length. And at the end of it I find the Pig King and a village. So, pretty good find. I spent the night in the birch tree forest just in front of the place. And ate a few carrots as well, so hunger's back to full. And I take a few sips from the streams around the place that increases my hydration. Something as well, why I have to be very careful about drinking from these streams and things, is because the water is, because it's not purified, where they show that in this mod, is they make it remove some of your sanity when you drink it if you've not properly boiled the water. So drinking impure water will lead to your character going mad. Just as I'm leaving though, we kill some of these cocoons, because I'm hoping to find a cocoon tail so I can make a hat for winter. But to no avail it would seem though off the first one. But I keep looking around the place. You can see as well another client mod that I've been mentioning, we do have a little mini map on the bottom left. So I use that to locate that there's just another den down here. And we found the Glommer statue. The first night I believe you can use that on, I think it's night 11 I want to say. Then it's like every, I think 20 nights afterwards. So yeah. So it'll be a while before we're able to do anything with that. It's also worth noting here that just toward the end of day 6 here we do find a touchstone there on the left, which is basically a free life. So we can respawn there without taking any max health penalty. And we do get here our cocoon tail. So we are now set for winter. As long as we can find somewhere to put that, because we've already, since we've not been... Yeah, since it's been a few days at this point, we're nearly at the end of our first week, we're yet to set up a base. I've kind of got a little bit too much inventory here. and so I'm facing some issues along those lines. At the end of day 6, I've managed to walk all the way back through the from the Pig King village and back to near the start, and we started exploring in one of the other directions we've not gone into yet. Now, while we're here, we bump into a stagehand, and I just kind of leave the pan flute over there while I explore this area. So, straight away as we go in, though, we find the Mandrake forest. I don't think I had enough inventory at this point to really use it. And this special chest, the conspicuous chest, which, I'll be honest, I had no idea what it was at the time. I did eventually find out though, but seeing as I couldn't really hold anything more at this point, I thought that's probably something to come back to another time. And we find some beefalo. So we finally found some, which means that this, if we can find some water here, could be a candidate for another really good base location. But of course, before finding water, we find more beefalo. So we've got a full herd of them here, which will make it great for producing basically fertilizer for farms, and thus, again, a good potential base location here. We just need a source of water nearby. I also start hammering down the pig house, because I'm trying to actually collect some of these pig houses and kill these pigs, because I'm wanting to try and create my own little pig village at the base whenever I eventually create that. Try to lure him away from the beefalo so Abigail doesn't accidentally frag the beefalo. The last thing we want here is to go and destroy the herd of beefalo, which is the entire reason for us considering this as a base location. And as you can see there, I've finally got an injury. We've got some bleeding damage that's lasting a good few seconds. And it just slowly drains the health a little bit. After a good explore of the area, we find some mechanical bishops here that we have to avoid. So it looks like we've found probably our first source of gears, if we want to grab them from over there. And here we go, we've found a stream, so it's a source of dirty water, but it is a source of water. We're really, though, wanting to find some wet ground, or another fountain or something that we can use on a permanent basis. But while we're here, we get another pig, so we can start looking toward crafting that pig village. At the end of day 7, I finally look toward making a science machine. And we get this set up here. So, at this point, basically, looking at the areas on the map, I figure that what I could do is put it down here because of a few reasons. So we've got some beehives on the right there. We've got some frog ponds as well. And after spending a moment looking through the map, basically that, along with the beefalo and the nearby spider dens between the forest below me, this actually looks like a pretty good area. Because basically the big strength of Abigail is just the big strength of Wendy is Abigail, and Abigail can absolutely tear through waves of small mobs. She's particularly brilliant at dealing with frogs and spiders. Frogs and spiders provide meat. Basically, by going here, we have a source of infinite food. Because whenever we're hungry, we just go to the spider dens, we go to the frog ponds, and we just pick a fight. So, with all that said, so I'm very much considering this for a base location at this point. It's probably #1 contender. There's a pool nearby, we would need to boil the water here, but it's not the worst of places to go. So I decided to put down some roots. And with that, the night of day 7 approached. Luckily here, Abigail does actually provide a small amount of light. And we don't die in the night. And of course with that, the game saved as day 8 hit and it was morning. But like I say, at this point, if we'd have done that and it had been any other character, we'd have probably just died while trying to set down a fire. Mind you, we'd have probably crafted a torch, but Abigail to the rescue. Just another reason why I really like playing as Wendy. Another bonus to setting the base up here is just north above it is a rock biome that gets hit with meteor showers every now and then, which means a renewable source of rock here. So it's pretty good. There's also this moose goose spawn here, which means that there's a lot of berry bushes around this place. So I quickly go and harvest all those up, and I start collecting berry bushes just in general to start putting around the base, and we fill our thirst meter from this pond. Another thing that we found out here is I went back to the north to just go. Well, I went back to near the starting part of the map where we hit the what would you call this? We found this set piece with the destroyed like marble rhino. I think it's a rook piece, that like a marble rook statue that's destroyed. But I tried topping up my thirst there since it'd be pure water rather than impurified stuff, and the rose fountain there has actually run out. Yeah, it's just, it apparently isn't an infinite water source. I didn't know that, but apparently, yeah, it just runs out after so many uses. We could have still built a well up here, but I feel a bit vindicated that I chose the other base location at this point. And then we just kind of, again, keep going about our business trying to find berry bushes whilst also collecting bits and bats of food to keep me, to just tide me over in the meantime. And on that note, day 9's come about. We clear out a pond full of frogs that Abigail definitely didn't start the fight. No. Anyway, we hear hounds and it's time to get in our first big fight. So we declare war on the world and we kill a bunch of frogs, a hound and some bees, which gives me some more meat in the end. So I've got some frog's legs, we've got some monster meat and things. It's time to look a bit up. I decide at this point I want to prioritise creating a I want to prioritise getting some charcoal to create a crock pot. In addition to that, I want to basically start again, keep going with the berry bushes and getting some food gathered from places so that I can, when the crock pot's built, maybe make some meatballs and things. I also decide that I want a ranged weapon for when I go on a hunt. Day 9 is here, it will soon be day 10, we are halfway to winter. I need some woolly clothes, which probably means killing a koalaphant to make a puffy vest, ready for winter. But I think the default koalaphant, it makes a breezy vest or something, but that combined with a hat will easily be enough to get us through winter. But to start hunting one down, you do need to first hit it, because it doesn't actually aggro on you until you hit it, and the thing runs away like a coward whenever you try to do that. So like I said, we need a ranged weapon for this. And so on that note, I start looking around on the map for potentially a number of trees that are kind of isolated off so that the fire won't spread much, and I start going about creating some charcoal. Also, while I was at the base, I've created a spear, and I'm now getting on the way to being ready to fight off potential. Well, I want to be able to fight off potential enemies because obviously we've just had a hound attack. We want to be ready for those in the future. But I'm getting ready for this hunt that we're going to go on. The hunt for winter supplies. And it's always better to be prepared early. So we burn the trees up and we get a bit of charcoal from them. Which means that we're now very close to being ready. And I also think that this will be a good opportunity to try out the new the ranged weaponry mod with the bows and muskets and things. So I'm thinking it's time to get a quiver and create myself a bow. On that note, the base at this point is starting to come together. We've got some storage, we've got our alchemy engine, and now we've got a portable crock pot. So this is from, I believe, Wally. It's basically a slightly better crock pot. You can disassemble it and take it with you if you need. But more importantly, it also cooks a little bit faster. Not by much, but a little bit. So, trying that out. But yeah, we've basically got ourselves a nice little... I mean, honestly, I think these things look like little barbecue spits. Yeah. Little barbecue grills, they look like to me. But we've got the base, it's nice coming along here. And on that note, just at this point, I decide to, first of all, start cooking up what we've created, what we've got here. Getting ourselves some, spicy chili we're making first. So, I don't know if that is one of the new recipes, or maybe it's from Wally or something like that, but we end up going, I think, with a frog... I'm trying to think now, what do we go with here? Is it going to be a frog witch bun or the chili? We go for the meatballs. Maximum hunger with little else in terms of bonuses, because obviously looking at the top right we have max health at the moment. No need to heal, so we just go for straight up hunger. And we don't need to eat them right now because we are not hungry enough that we'd get the full benefit. But it helps me clear my inventory out of all the food items. We can kind of stack those on top of each other. And just as I do that, explore a bit over here while I'm waiting for things to cook. So we found the rest of the frog ponds, but we also discovered this. Big old berry bush farm protected by a pig guardian. The pig guardian is dead because the torch is off. Which suggests it was probably killed by the sheer tidal wave of frogs that probably spawn there every day. So we've got an infinite amount of berry bushes. Well, not infinite amount, but we've got a large amount of berry bushes, and we've got a large amount of ponds next to each other, meaning that in terms of thirst and hunger, we are pretty much sorted here. Like I say, we've probably got infinite food. So the not starving aspect of the game is probably already accomplished here. And on that note, that ends our first 10 days. The base is looking pretty good, and we've got our goal set for the rest of the next 10 days, which is to basically get winter ready. Now we've established base, we need to make sure it can last throughout winter. On that, we're going to need to, as I mentioned, create a ranged weapon to go and hunt down a koalaphant and get those put together into clothes, and that's so we don't freeze in winter. We also want to get some probably some gears from those bishops down below and create ourselves a fridge so we can store food for long periods of time. So we've got our objective set out. Now we just have to go about getting all those materials. So day 11, with a emptied out inventory, sort of ish, I decided to finally go back down here and get those mandrakes. While I'm down getting the mandrakes, I remember that there's that chest there as well. And so, once I've drunk some of that stream water, yuck, I go about trying to open up this chest to see what it does. See what's in there. Got a few open inventory slots so we can quickly grab what's in there. But it does look a bit conspicuous, surrounded by evil flowers and burning. So we get a terrarium. We get the healing salves before the box goes up in flames. And we do the smart thing here. Which is, you're probably wondering what that black powder stuff is that I'm holding. Because that is literally, yeah, that's gunpowder. We did not want that to set on fire. So we narrowly avoid being blown to smithereens and acquire a few useful items. But once again, our inventory is full. Day 11 is coming to a close. But we have managed to, as well as doing that, I've also spent some time just going around the base and planting. So we've now got a load of plants planted at the base. We just need to be able to actually fertilise these, because when you replant things you do have to re-fertilise them, otherwise they will not grow. And we'll just place a terrarium down on the floor. I believe this is the the crossover content that was added for the Terraria crossover. So I had to actually look this up after I found it, because I wasn't entirely certain. So apparently you activate the terrarium and it can summon a boss, and you get a unique item from it. So again, this was kind of added after when I last played. Apparently you can use, I think, nightmare fuel with it to verse an even more dangerous version of the boss, which we don't do in this playthrough, because I think maybe toward the end I will get him powerful enough to face that, but not quite now at the moment. You know, we're only on day 11 at this point, so we don't touch it quite yet, and we certainly don't go after any more dangerous versions of those bosses. Get a few more spiders culled before the end of the day. And that kind of brings day 11 to a close. Again, really useful being near these dens as Wendy, because you can clear them out very easily. It's very easy XP for my XP mod that I've got in the game, the skills and perks mods. And it's also a good source of meat, which, if you don't know, if you use one monster meat in the crock pot, you can actually give yourself a perfectly viable meal. So you can put it in and make, say, like meatballs, for example. And you can make a perfectly viable meal so long as you only put one in. If you put more than one, it will become something like monster lasagna. And it will be boost your hunger at the cost of health, basically. But if you only put one in, it's a way of like refining the meat. You kind of, by only using a little bit, because it's not like a concentrated amount, it doesn't affect you much. So as long as you don't have it in large amounts in a single meal. So the crock pot's pretty good at that. You'll notice as well that it is a full moon. So we could go and get Glommer, but he's way over at the other end of the map. Way over there, other end of the map. We're not going to make it in time. So I instead decided to use the time in the evening to slay some more spiders while the moon's out. Nice as well. It's also, I'm also trying to get some silk at this point, because I'm hoping to create some warm winter clothes, which will require a large amount of silk. It's also worth pointing out at this point, so I go and fight some more spiders. We are now starting to get a nice amount of silk. I also passed a totally normal tree on the way here. So potential source of some living logs later there. But here we see our first long-lasting injury. So fighting the spiders here. I think one of them manages to get a few bites, and it's this warrior spider here. It doesn't go down without a fight. We're now getting a lot of health loss from this, so I decided to call it quits, but we have a leg injury, which you can probably guess what that's going to do. Yep. So we're slowed down for a while, and we can't move as quickly. And it's going to take a few days to heal. We can get a splint, and you equip it like you would a weapon, and it increases your movement speed whilst injured, so it kind of cancels out the injury. Potentially something to use, but I kind of go against it here, thinking it'll all just heal itself if I just give it enough time and rest. On that note though, I do go and collect some poo from the beef load to start using as fertiliser on the farms, on the bushes and grass tufts that we've planted. So I returned to the base. I used up all the fertiliser I had, and I have made a quiver as well as a bow. So we've now got that ranged weapon we've been wanting. I do need some arrows though. So I'm still trying to get used to the new menu for the crafting stuff on the left, because I think this was again added shortly after I stopped playing. I took a long hiatus from the game. I've been meaning to get back into it, but God, getting all my mods organised is a pain. So we don't have any arrows yet, but we have the weapon. It does mean we'll need to create some bird traps though, and look to try and create those arrows at some point, because we need the feathers for the back ends of the arrows. For the... what is it now? It's not the... I'm trying to think, it's not the... they don't call it a quill, do they? Or not tail of the arrow? I honestly cannot remember what that part of the arrow is called, the bit with the feathers, but anyway, we need it for that. But we've also put some armour on, so we've got armour now, because I started thinking, well, you know, we should probably make sure we're protected when we next get into a fight to avoid injuries like that again. You saw there the pig guardian had respawned up above us, so it does respawn after a few days. But I go down here, I've got my armour on, and I'm thinking, you'll also notice the leg injury has healed now after a day or so, and we basically go and just pick a fight with this bishop. Take your bets on how this will turn out now. Ooh. And it's caused me to bleed with the first hit, so it's hit me again. It's already taken 30% of my armour value off. And there we go. On that note, with about a third of our health remaining, we are on we are on our way to creating a fridge. We've now got plenty of gears, and we've even got a purple gem. In fact, make that 2 purple gems. Could be used for I believe it's called a shadow manipulator, that we could use that for. Basically a crafting station for magical items. But we're off to a great start. Day 13, we've already got all these materials. I make room in my inventory, and I make my way back to the base. On day 14, I decided that it's time to finally solve the water problem. And using the gears that I've got, I create a kettle. And then I use some graft tufts to make some rope, and create a bucket. Now, again, it's just one of the quirks of this being like a mod that's then been it's then gone and been abandoned, picked up by someone else who fixed it, then abandoned, then picked up by another person and fixed up again. one of the quirks of it is you cannot directly put water into a kettle. So for example, I can't just dunk the kettle in the stream over there and it fills with water. You can do it with buckets. So just one of those weird things. So I'm having to get a bucket to fill with water, to then take the water and pour it into a kettle. And then I can boil the kettle and drink that water. It's odd. Anyway, I start looking at shields at this point because I'm thinking if I'm going to be getting to winter, that means a certain deer-shaped looking boss is going to be turning up, and I need to make sure I have some kind of protection. My armour took half of its durability as a beating there, and that's just from a bishop. So I'm thinking, well, what the hell's Deerclops going to do if it hits me? So I need to be prepared. On that note, I start looking at other armour solutions, and potentially even, like I say, a shield. Now, interestingly enough, if you are using a shield and Deerclops hits you according to the mod, it just breaks the shield unless you've got at least a marble quality shield. Anyway, with my new kettle and my bow ready, I decide to go and see if I can find a koala elephant, which I find. And it was at this point that I kind of realised something. Okay, I don't have a ranged weapon because I've not got the arrows yet, but what if I just send Abigail into aggressive mode, because it will run away from me, but it doesn't run away from her. And so I completely go and cheese the thing. I mean, if anything, actually, this is technically the way that they intended me to defeat the boss, because the bow and arrow I was going to use would have been from a mod, whereas by just cheesing it using Abigail, that's using all vanilla approved, you know, developer approved in-game items. So there we go. Anyway, we get a bucket full of water there, and we're well on our way back to the base. And it looks like the pig here has died once again and left a pig hide. And again, so it's just a nice renewable source of pig hides here and meat. Of course, unlike spiders, frogs will not. They don't eat the meat afterwards. They're not like weird, weird meat-eating cannibal mega frogs. So they'll leave the meat there. Interesting to know. Anyway, on that note, we've got our koala elephant trunk. We stick all of our perishables in the fridge. And we do create a breezy vest. Warm, but not that warm. But combined with a hat, it's good enough for winter. With day 15 here, we now face another hound attack. You can hear them barking in the distance here. And I try to use the frogs, hopefully maybe lesser the amount of damage that I have to do to them and maybe give myself a bit of a break, but it turns out to only be a few of them and I deal with them pretty easily. Third comes in, but it's already basically over at this point. We get nothing but monster meat, nothing interesting like bone shards or hound's teeth or anything like that. But I have at this point as well, I've used that catcoon tail and we've got a breezy vest as well as a catcoon hat. Like a big Yashanka looking hat. And we've now got loads of meat stored in the fridge. So I decided to go and get some fertiliser from the beefalo, because I am very much ready to try and get all these bushes collected, because we need something to mix that meat with to create some meatballs and meaty stews and things. Yeah, we don't want to just be eating raw monster meat through winter. So at the end of day 15, I decided to go and look in the caves, and a bit disturbing on the way there, as you just saw there. I mean, not only is a stagehand following me, but I've just seen some no-eyed deer, which suggests that winter is well on its way. Anyway, I look on my map to figure out where the hell the caves are, because I think I've passed them at this point, which I had done. And me and Abigail go over to try and open those up, because we're going to have a little nosy at what's down in the caves. I'm kind of hoping at this point to just be able to find some useful items, maybe get some mining done, and start exploring the caves a little bit. Hopefully just before winter comes in. So I load into the caves. There's a few little bits and bats of resources to grab. And straight away, there's a bunny town. And I'm immediately wondering, do basilisk wings count as meat? They probably do, right? So I think I'll go over here and see if any of the bunnies get annoyed at me. Because there's only 1 or 2 houses down here, so I'll see if this one bunny gets annoyed. And they seem chill so far, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe that doesn't count as a full-on, like, piece of meat, at which point I bump into one, and... No, they definitely count it as meat. And they don't like that. And if you aggro one, you aggro all of them all at the same time. I'm trying to get Abigail to follow me out here, but we've got issues. I take my leave. So now out of the cave and Abigail beginning to recover, I start making my way back to the base. But no idea, they're definitely there and there's a bunch of them. And I'm just trying to think what else I need for winter at this point, at which moment this guy picks a fight with me. So I'm thinking, well, I can just, while he's over there, I'll mine some gold. Nope, got too close to the eggs, so... Thankfully, Abigail comes to the rescue again. We get our spear out. And get a few attacks in. At which point my spear breaks, so I have to swap to the pickaxe then, but we do get some more meat. And then we get some, we get ourselves a nice egg here. And we are ready to create one of the greatest of delicacies in Don't Starve. Now armed with both an egg and with meat. We are capable of creating, well, actually 2 things, because I think it's one of the items from one of the mods. The 2 things you can create with this, so we can create bacon and eggs, which heals you for a lot, and also gives you a very good amount of hunger. Or we can create a Scotch egg, like a, well, it's a giant Scotch egg, that will basically fully heal and do your hunger and that. Actually, it might not be a full heal, it might be more like half of one, but yeah. It's a massive heal and a massive amount of additional hunger gain from it, but we do need to start looking at creating something with all this meat that we're getting, because we're just absolutely inundated with monster meat, but we've got nothing to mix it with really, apart from a few, you know, we've probably got enough berries and carrots and things to maybe make 3 or 4 more meatballs, but that's about it, and yet we've got 30 monster meat to chow down on, so we've got an issue here. A good issue, but still an issue. On day 18, I ventured up into a swamp. The goal here was to try and get some reeds. I'm actually trying to remember what the hell I wanted the reeds for at this point. I've just got it in the notes. Went to the swamp in search of reeds. Spent the night. Left with lots of tentacle gear and reeds. I forget why I wanted the reeds. It was definitely for something important. I'm gonna have to... We'll just have to cross that when we come to it. I'm sure we'll see me use them for something. I'm beginning to wonder if it were maybe to create a dart, like a blowpipe or something perhaps, or Maybe something else. Maybe it was for it was probably for papyrus, and I would use papyrus. What would I use papyrus for? Anyway, we find some watery crates which contain evil squid monsters, and Abigail makes short work of them. And it drops a light bulb quite conveniently, so we can just kind of use that as light for the night. Quite useful. Don't need the torch anymore. But we do end up having to spend the night in the swamp. We are beginning to get cold as well. You can see my character beginning to shiver there. So winter is definitely closing on to us now. Something to just be wary of. Anyway, back at base, we are trying to desperately use the last of our berries and meat here to create some meatballs. And we're eating the stale ones that we've got in. And having gotten back to the base, yeah, we do now have some tentacle spots, and we've got a couple tentacle spikes, which we can use as weapons, which is quite useful. But we're still after that papyrus. Right, so, and you can see here as well, we're now using the kettle, we're creating our first brew of tea here. And I've also, having looked through a bit, I remember what we were wanting that papyrus for, and we have actually got enough, it's just in the chest. So, we've got the reeds in the chest, we're going to make some papyrus, and we have just enough to make a bird cage. We're going to use the bird cage to be able to get a renewable supply of eggs, because we built a bird trap down at the bottom of the base there. Might as well create a bird cage when we've got some birds about, and then we can create bacon and eggs with our basically use some of the meat that's about to go stale, turn it into fresh eggs, and then utilise that with the rest of the meat and create bacon and eggs. Plans coming together. As you can see now, we've got a meteor shower coming in, so I did say this area was prone to having those, so we're kind of walking through D-Day here, as we're trying to avoid freezing to death. The meteors stop, we manage to get a fire down, and we can do a bit of mining while we wait out the storm. Now it was at this point that I thought to myself, it's probably not going to affect me much in winter and that, but I should start considering getting a lightning rod for the base, because if this were to happen and I were at the base, there's a chance that it just strikes the base and burns my entire existence away, which is not something we want. So I put a lightning rod on the to-do list at this point, and I'm starting to think, you know, get these bird cages going, capture more birds, get more feathers, create some arrows, that sort of thing. So we've got a few basically last chores of things to do for winter, but at least for food and warmth wise we should be good. And our kettle has boiled. We can now drink from the kettle and have cups of tea. Which is, I mean, if there's anything could there be anything more British, where trying to survive in a hostile wilderness with nothing but tea and pointy stick while it rains on us. Tea and rain and cold. Basically Britain in a nutshell there. That's actually the secret behind all of Don't Starve, the secret law. You've been on the British Isles all along. You're just on one of the Channel Islands, that's it. But on that note, we now start day 21. Can you believe it? 21 already. And as you can see from the colour change, the hue on the game, kind of little colour filter here, it's a bit more blue. Winter has officially begun. The birds have changed to the blue ones because the other ones have migrated. Soon the ponds will freeze over. and the snow will start to fall. So into early winter. You can also see on the top right we do have the the season tracker active there that comes with one of the mods, and it is indeed now winter. On that note, the penguins have arrived already. They're starting to show up, and we have a few chores to do. And one of the things that I've neglected while getting all these tools and items and things is I've just neglected one of the basic things that you're supposed to do in winter, which is to just have a ready supply of logs at all times. So I've been neglecting my log supply, so I need more. So I spent most of the first day just gathering logs. So while that's just kind of going off in the background here, now I'll just go through a little bit in my notes here. So one of the interesting things I did, so at this point I believe was every so often, because obviously I didn't do all this in one sitting, I started making little to-do lists as I went through. So the next page is just an entire to-do list that's this is what I want to do over winter. So number one, I want to get a shield. We've still not got one. More arrows. So we've got the birds. We've got a bird cage. We've got a bird trap. We need feathers. We need to get those arrows made. We do have some, as you can see. We've got 5 in our quiver, so we can hit something 5 times, and then we're on a zone. It's into melee, but getting more arrows would be a good idea. I want to try and create some rope bridges, because I've never really used that mod much, so I'd like to try it out, see if it's any good. Because being able to move across between islands seems like it could be a big time saver in terms of your time walking about. So I'm going to try and get some rope bridges made. And then I need to get ready for, what else are they here? Yes, so we want to find Glommer. I want to find Glommer. Glommer should arrive on day 30. So it's 20 days after day 11, he arrives on day 11, that's the first full moon, so it will be 31 the next day that he arrives. So keep an eye on that. Deerclops is due on day 30, or later I think. I think I left Deerclops on normal, rather than him taking longer to spawn or anything, so he should be here around about day 30. And we need to kind of prepare for that. And I need some springware then, which is going to need some bone shards. And I think that's for an umbrella, if I'm not mistaken. It's either an umbrella or a coat or something. But apparently I need bone shards. Or maybe the bone shards are for something completely different. I should probably be a bit more descriptive in these notes, but hey. And then I just want to dig some graves, take the items to a pig king, get a bunch of gold, and then destroy the pig village around there, and bring all the materials over here and build a little pig town next to the frogs. The idea is, if I put them next to the spiders, they'd fight, but then the spiders would eat the meat. If I put them next to the frogs, they'll fight, and the frogs will leave the meat, which I can then collect in the evenings, should I so choose. And also, if the spiders or hounds do attack me, I can always lure them past the pigs, and they should assist me in that. So, defensive as well as being a nice little mob grinder for me there. So that's kind of what I'm planning to do in winter. But with the end of day 20, well, 21, basically been gathering up some wood, and I'm looking toward this marble shield here. So we just need marble, we need some rope, and I need a regular shield, which I should be able to make. And so of course having some marble and plenty of logs about, I indeed look to try and make that marble shield. So at the end of day 22, I start making this marble shield. I also start looking at maybe making a bat. So it's like a bat made out of, I think, the basilisk wings, but I would need a shadow manipulator to make one. So I start thinking maybe making a shadow manipulator, but I need to start with the first tier item, which will be a prehistoric hatilator. I think that's what it's called. I'd have to see the name again. But it might have just been pre-hatillated. It's a big hat, and you put rabbits in it, and it makes your magic. But yeah. So I need to get some rabbits for that. And so of course, on that note, I do exactly that. I create some traps. Or well, at least one. And I set it down near a little rabbit hole here. The issue is now though, it is winter. And the first snowfall is here. So it is now going to get much colder. And we're going to see it looking very wintry soon. We collect our last berry harvest from here for the winter. They won't regrow now until it's over. And we're going to mix that with some meat to create some meatballs. As you can see up there as well, the frog ponds have frozen over, so we're not going to be able to get meat from those anymore. So we're now going to face some new troubles in terms of our resource economy here. So, unable to use the Battlist wings right now. I think I ended up cooking a bunch of them. But then as I come to check my traps, I hear the hounds baying. So, we've got a hound wave coming in. And we're going to need to defend against it. I unfortunately don't have any armour on me at this point. Oh no, I do, I can see it down there. 84%, but we do need to keep the breeze vest on just so that we've got something to stop us from freezing to death. Until this point I'd spent most of the day just gathering grass around the area, as well as bits of food, things from berry bushes and that. And we go and deal with the hounds. We'll make sure we're away from the base, just in case. I don't think fire hounds can spawn during winter. Yeah, I'm going to say I think it's usually frost hounds, but I give the shield a try to see how it is. We didn't really use it there, but just getting a feel for the controls of how we would use it. But we've fended off the hounds. As you can see there, yeah, we've cooked up the basilisk wing, and we've created some Scotch eggs from that tall bird egg. We've also created some meat stew, and we're now trying to use the bacon that we've got from feeding our bird there, what was slightly rotten meat. We're using the eggs to create just a bunch of bacon and eggs by combining all of our slightly stale ingredients together to create something that's a bit fresher, tastier, and will heal a bit of our health if need be. On the end of day 25, I decided I finally had enough stuff to go against the Eye of Terror. So I added some fuel to the fire here. We summoned him in. And I put on my suit of armour. First time I fought this boss, I figured it wouldn't be too difficult. But it turns out he unfortunately deals all the damage in the world to Abigail. You'll also notice I'm a little bit slower moving while I'm carrying the marble shield. I made the mistake here as well as to not buffing myself up with Wolfgang's weights. But I do at least figure out that I can use the shield a bit here to negate this damage that's coming in. We get his health quite low. And unfortunately I have to start blocking this. And I've completely missed that I had to kill those eyeballs up there here at this point. I'm thinking, you know, maybe I can just go in and get the kill here. He's unfortunately spawning a bunch of these in at this point. And I'm struggling a fair bit. We run over to the fridge there, we get some bacon and eggs. Heal myself up a bit, as you do. Stop mid-battle for some bacon and eggs. Thankfully my armour is carrying me through this, as is my shield. But it looks like with him on less than a quarter health, he's probably going to kill me here. Fortunately, I then come up with the idea of, well, what if I just use my shield and try and avoid being hit. Now, apparently the Eye of Terror will, the damage carries over. So if you summon him again the next night, he will still have the same amount of health, though he will heal for a few hundred. And the little eyeballs do stay around a little bit. But that does leave me on the issue of I am now very low on health, my armor's broken, and I am being chased by a small army of evil meat-eating eyeball monsters. We do the British thing, we drink some tea. And yeah, now I kind of have to figure out how to get rid of these. I'm actually looking back at my notes thinking, what on earth did I do to get rid of these? And it doesn't actually say, it just says, I was, day 26, I was chased around by eyeballs, I reset my traps, and I healed up. So, we'll see what we do here then. That looks like how we're going to heal up. So, yep, we've healed up. We're checking the traps and things. We don't have any armour though yet, which is going to be an issue. We definitely need some armour before we face them, and we are currently freezing to death, so not great so far. Remember to put on our woolly jacket, so we don't freeze to death quite so quickly. Then we stick a few logs on the fire. So at this point I've gone back to the base, I've managed to lure them away for a moment, then go back and craft myself a log suit. Now, Abigail is weak at this point, but the day has passed, so the day she died at night, it ticked over today, so we can resummon her. So I resummon her even though she's weak, and we just quickly deal with them. So at this point I get ready for round 2, and I start thinking to myself, well, what could I do here? So I create some more healing salves. I've got some spider glands and bits of ash and things at the base, so I create some more healing salves, heal myself up a bit. I've got some armour ready, we've already got Abigail out. I create this, what's it called anyway, but yeah, we create this little, is it the cistern or something it's called? Yeah, the cistern. That little pedestal thing with our sister's ashes on, it means that Abigail can strengthen faster, so she can get back to full health a bit quicker. We also, and as you see there, it does work, so she's now got a bit more health again. We get our Wolfgang on and start doing some lifting, and so we're nice and buff for the fight. If you never thought you'd see a buff Wendy, well, today's the day that you do. So at full strength, we've got our armour, we've got our sister back to full health, and we're ready to face the Eye of Terror once more. In addition to all that though, I take a bit of rope. We equip our marble shield, but we also create a football helmet, which I've got a skin for because I did the Forge event back in the day, and we now look like a very angry Viking. And with that, we fuel the fire, so we've got some light while we do this. And it's just a matter of time. We've even got the tentacle spike out. We're ready to lay down a beat down. A few moments before it spawns in, I use my toggle pause thing on the menu, and I just kind of start looking through what levels I want to give myself. But then I realise that I can't actually spend these while it's paused. We'll give ourselves a small damage buff with some of our skill points that we've been saving up. Not spent any up until that point, but there we go. Anyway, the beast he spawns in is, as I've mentioned, he recovers a few hundred health. And yeah, second time around, we over-prepared. We absolutely over-prepared. You can see some items there, but not quite sure what they all are yet. We can't really see, it's dark, so start moving these back to the base. Luckily, Abigail there did kill a snake that was going up to try and eat all of these milky whites that it drops, which is a dodgy sounding name. I don't know why I've decided to call it that, but yes, milky whites. I don't think I end up really using them for much. They are a rare food item that only drops from that, but honestly, I don't think I had the other ingredients that I would need to make something unique for them. I think when you're putting them in the crock pot, it counts as a dairy item, of all things, but yeah. Anyway, we get back, and we've got some treasure. Now, the important thing out of these is that weird eyeball mouth helmet thing there. So that's actually a helmet you can use. It's about as good as the football helmet, but instead of using durability when it gets hit, it lowers the durability, but you can repair it by feeding it, because it's like a giant mouth monster thing. So you can actually repair it by feeding it spare food. So quite interesting. Might have been useful for us, given that we're just getting so much meat at the moment. But I put it in my chest and decided to save that for special occasions and just use my default helmet in the meantime, since I've just built one. Might as well at least use it till it disintegrates. So the next morning I decided to actually start spending a few skill points. So I've increased my damage by 5%. And I decided to increase my sanity just a little bit. But no, I think, yeah, it looks like I accidentally spent some on sanity and decided to reset that back. So yeah, I think I meant to put it in hunger there, as you can see. So I put about 10 points into hunger, so I'm on to 180 max hunger now. I do the same with health, so I'm on 180 max health. And I increased my cold insulation by quite a lot here for winter, so that I can just stay out in the cold that little bit longer and not necessarily need to rely on like thermal stones and things, because I'm already having enough inventory issues as is. And that's how I end up spending my points. Moving forward a little bit further to day 29, I start doing some grave digging. I've emptied a few inventory slots for this. And so I start doing some grave digging, we get a few gems. I also notice that there's the critter cave up above me, so if I want to come back to get a pet at some point, I know this is the place I need to be. But I'm looking for junk here that I can go and trade with the Pig King in exchange for a large amount of gold. It's one of the easiest ways to get gold. We do get a gnome and a teacup. And an air freshener there, as well as our gems. Getting quite lucky with the gems, I'll be honest. Wendy in particular is pretty good with these graves. She doesn't anger the ghosts, I think, when she does this. There's also the chance of a pip spook spawning there. You can do little quests with him where you try to like find items around the map following him, and he gives you like some unique resources for Wendy to craft like potions that can buff Abigail. They're almost completely useless and it takes a lot of time to do this, so I've never bothered. But you know, it's an interesting little thing that thematically fits with the character. Moving on to the end of the day 30 here. So nothing much else has happened, but I do create this Deerclops bait sign here. Now you're probably wondering what this is. Well, you're probably not wondering what it is. It's Deerclops bait. But the way that Deerclops' spawning works is he will spawn in around the player, and the first thing he will do is he will proceed to the nearest player-built structure and destroy it. Right? If you are not being targeted, if you're too far away, you're running away from him, you're not aggroing him in any way, he will attack the nearest player-built structure. He will always do this, unless he's being attacked by another mob. So, my thinking here is if I put down a structure of some sort, he should spawn nearby and come for me. And then I can engage him in battle, he won't go after my base. So we're basically kind of exploiting the system here to just make sure that he comes straight for me and we get a proper scrap from this, rather than him going for my base. Learning from the Eye of Terror incident here, I've decided to get myself all buffed up and get plenty of armour on before the fighting starts. I've also created a fire and kept it with plenty of logs and things, so that when he does get here, we're not going to be fighting in the dark. And yeah, there we go, we just put a bit, well yeah, worth putting some more logs on. I'm hoping I remember to do that right now, because fighting him in the dark will be very hard. Yeah, there we go, I wasn't stupid. Right. We can hear the evil breathing and stuff, so he's definitely on his way, and we've got a fight coming up. There were a few things as well that we're hoping to do here. At this point I think there had been a tree guard spawn up above me, and I was kind of hoping I could maybe run him through into that and they could fight so I wouldn't have to. I also wanted to walk him through the forest a bit in order to chop some trees down, because he destroys trees as he moves over them. It can be a real time saver. And here he comes. So he's a bit of a big boy, you know, and like I say, goes straight for the structure, straight for that sign. We've got plenty of armour. And yeah, we once again overdid it. I was thinking, right, get in there before he goes after me, and he was already dead, and then I kind of went, oh, I was meant to get him to go and chop some trees down and that. But unfortunately, yes, he's already dead. Stop! He's already dead. He's already gone. But yes, so with that done, we've now got a few key items that we need for spring. You can use the eyeball from Deerclops to actually create like a special umbrella, and you can use that to survive spring fairly easily. The next day being a full moon, we went and got Glommer, so we've now added Glommer to the gang. On that note as well, we've got a hound wave coming in. So we're looking pretty good at this point. Now Glommer, as well as like every so often creating Gommer's glue, which I'll not beat around the bush, it means it's crapped itself. He'll just leave it on the floor. It's kind of like when you take a dog or something out for a walk and it just leaves it all over the pavement. So, but in addition to doing that, while you're nearby Glommer, you get a sanity aura around him. So while you're near Glommer, he will steadily restore your stamina. So we'll go and put Glommer's flower in, I think it's called Woby the dog? We'll put Glommer's flower in our dog's backpack. And now Glommer should follow our dog, who should follow us. Yay. So, on that note, we then begin day 32. But before we do that, I decided to look in this wormhole to see actually where it leads to. It looks like it leads into the swamp biome, which is not exactly what you want to have happen. But that's where it led. So a few days more of gathering materials and preparing and such, I managed to finally create that rope bridge that I was wanting to try out. It works quite nicely, it's a nice little mod. It looks like companions can't follow you through, but it also looks like that while they can't follow you through, they do eventually just teleport to you if you get far enough away, so it kind of works. But anyway, we check the traps, we've got a few rabbits about. And we've now got a shortcut across that part of the map, so we don't have to go all the way around. We can just go across. So you can kind of see on the bottom left of the map, I had to kind of go all the way around that in a big semicircle. Now I can just kind of cut across. I've also in this time acquired a no-eyed deer antler that I think we can use if we find a big Santa sack to spawn in a winter boss. It was also at this point that I decided to swap out some of my character's appearance items. So I always start the game out wearing like the survivor item set, which is basically her default outfit, except it's all like ripped and torn and her hair's been cut and she's got muck on her and that. And then now that I've beaten a boss, I've swapped it out for the I think it's the Forge armor set, but she looks like a Viking basically at this point. Gives me that sort of sense of progression that, you know, we've gone from being, you know, just we've arrived here and we don't know what we're doing and we're scrambling to survive, to someone who looks like they're a bit seasoned and they've been here a while and they know what they're doing. So we'll be rocking a bit of a new outfit for most of the rest of the playthrough. And on that note, I start thinking about making bridge number 2 at this point. So I'm wanting a little network of these bridges here, because it's where a few of the islands and continents and that just sort of meet in the middle here. It's like the main continent has this kind of watery gap in between, so I'm kind of trying to fill that in here and make it a bit more easier to traverse. But to do it I need a lot of logs and a lot of rope. So I start building the next one. Now the interesting thing is you build a kit for this and then you look to place it and it tells you how many planks and rope it will need when you're trying to place it. So we need 4 for this, 4 of each. So I go about starting to make a bunch of boards. So there's our 4, and then we need the 4 rope. So start again, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And next thing you know, there we go. 4 and 4, rope bridge has been made. A nice little shortcut. And this is all on day 35 now we're up to. And on that note, it's time to look at building our last one, because I'm going to have another one going across between these two here. And it looks like it will be 5 and 5. I'm kind of jiggling it around so I can get a 4 and 4 again, but yeah, it seems to just be it's 5, unfortunately. And so now, with a few more days having passed, we're at day 36, I believe that is there, yes, in the corner. So on day 36, we're just kind of getting a few things prepared, making some meals and that. And just as that happens, it seems that spring is already upon us. So I always forget that I always thought of the seasons as being 20 days long, so I'm thinking, oh, spring will be here at day 40. No, they're actually slightly shorter than that. They're, they're ever so slightly shorter. And so, on day 36, we're already seeing spring. I think they're like 18 days or something in actuality, so yeah. And it of course means there's these mini glaciers and there's loads of abandoned penguin nests that we need to go and sort out. We can quickly snatch a few like nearly rotten eggs and maybe make them into some bacon and eggs if we're quick. And so I spend the day mostly doing that. And so now, on day 37, the next day, I've taken all my items from what I got from grave digging, and I received the greatest golden shower of my life. So this is why we take it all to the Pig King. He gives you like a random amount of gold for each one between, I think, I want to say it's between like 1 and 10 or something, but yeah, you can get a massive amount of gold from him. While I'm here, I also decide to basically go and get some materials for some pig houses, and I think you know where this is going, right? So we're finally going to make that pig village at our base, and we're going to need some materials for that. So let the pig genocide begin. So we're getting most of the materials we'll need just from destroying the houses, because it's mostly the pig hides that we need here. If we can get these pig hides collected, then that's the main resource that we need. We can craft the other things, but we need to kill enough pigs to get these hides, and the best way of doing it is to just destroy the house. You will get enough pig hides to then make another house. You just lose out on some of the stone and wood that they're made of. There's also the chance that when you kill the pig, it might drop another pig hide, so you might get even more out of it. But yep, day 37. This is basically how we end it. We just spend the entire day, entire evening just destroying these pig houses. So while we've been doing that, of course, night time's come along. We've got 3 houses left to destroy, but I end up spending the night in the Pig King village. And rather than make a fire, I just kind of wander around following Abigail for a bit. On this note though, I will point out as well the rabbits in my inventory. I've been trying to get the first tier of magic crafting put together, but I think if I'm remembering correctly, I was 1 rabbit short. And then of course spring's coming along and the rabbit tunnels collapse, the warrens collapse during spring, so you can't actually get rabbits anymore. It is no longer rabbit hunting season, and we've missed out on getting that item set up in time, so it will be a while before I'm able to use magic now. Which is not a massive loss. The main items you get from that are like magic staffs that shoot fire and ice, which I don't horrendously need. And a lot of the magic items are very difficult to make and kind of underwhelming, so it's never really been a big priority when I've played Don't Starve. So it's no huge loss, but it is a bit disheartening. The main thing though is that we're here and we're getting these pig hides. And so with the last few pig hides secure, an unexpected visitor arrives. There's a giant moose goose. Didn't know it could even spawn just here, but anyway, our inventory is full. And I end up deciding not to engage it just at this time. I know where others spawn though, should I decide to go after them. Anyway, we head back to base using our new rope bridge shortcut. And weird one, so we've got all the supplies for the pig houses and that. My notes here just say the grass came alive. So apparently the grass comes alive. Anyway, I think the plan at this point is to make those pig houses, get the pig village set up, and that should give us a nice defense against hound attacks and other possible bosses and things, as well as giving us a ready supply of meat. And yeah, there you go, the grass came alive. I bet you thought I was lying. I'll be honest, I did for a second, but yeah. There we go, it's turned into lizards. Right. With the turning of the seasons and me finishing another gaming session at this point, there's another to-do list here that I've got for spring. So my goals for spring: I needed bone shards for a winter raincoat and an umbrella, and some more tentacle spots. Apparently I didn't have enough of them. I also wanted to get ready for going into the caves. I don't like staying outside during the summer seasons, and it's a bit annoying to deal with. Unlike winter and spring, it's not as easy to deal with just constant heat, plus I hate having my base just randomly set on fire. Which also makes me think, you know, get some ice and get some ice fling-o-matics set up probably. I also was looking to make a pet glom glom from the critter cave that we passed earlier. But I needed planks to get more pig houses and storage set up. And as well, just a big sort of underlined exclamation mark thing: before summer, make sure I get plenty of ice. Because if you don't know, you can put ice in a crock pot and you can use it for making meatballs. It counts as a filler item, so it won't turn them into a weird. But anyway, yeah, the pig house frog war seems to be working, so we can now look forward to a constant supply of meat, as well as all of our berry bushes here. So that combined with the ice means never-ending frog sandwiches and meatballs and meat stews between them and the spiders. So food is no problem. Oh, and of course then there's the beehives around here, which now that spring's arrived, they've all turned into killer bees, which just means it gives me a green light to just have Abigail go and genocide the bees. The only good bug is a dead bug. That's where we're going. The weird mosquito sacks they drop as well, because for some reason they drop mosquito sacks, but yeah, they can be used to heal you apparently, which is ridiculous. I have no idea if that's from a mod or if that's just a weird thing in the game. Anyway, it looks like one of the grass monsters has died and left me some weird meat. But yeah, the killer bees can drop those mosquito sack things, which can be used to heal you, and I can kill loads of bees very quickly, giving me a renewable large supply of healing items, as well as lots of spikes and things, stingers, and honey. So we're getting a lot of resources by being near just a lot of mobs around us, just hostile mobs that are constantly warring, and as well as having Abigail. So Wendy is definitely shining in this playthrough. Just reinforcing my personal bias towards her, and also the reason I have her Funko Pop. So in the days to come, I made a parasol on day 40, and got under a tree and tried not to drown in the torrent of water that comes with spring on Don't Starve. It's a good job I put a lightning rod up, and yeah, it's at this point that I start thinking I should probably put another lightning rod up near all those pig houses I just built to make sure they don't set on fire as well, because that'd be unfortunate. But we create a we create a pink, pretty parasol thing here just to keep us going through spring until we get something a bit more permanent. And that the issue that you find here is that even with the parasol up and under a tree, we're still not really, we're not getting drier. So it does have issues here. At least we're avoiding the cold though, due to our winter clothes still being on. I've been patching those up as well with duct tape this entire time, which we get from having we known as character abilities active on us. We're still getting some odd feathers and that from our traps. Moving on to day 41 though, and I had a bit of an interesting idea. I remember there being a like a deserty, rocky biome up here, and they usually have, yep, you can see it there, these bone piles in them. So if I need bone shards, then I should probably go and get these bone piles smashed up, and smashing those up should give me the shards that I require. There's also these tumbleweeds there that can often give you some random junk, which we might be able to take to the Pig King later. Of course, there's plenty of them and they all seem to cluster up at the edges. So I basically spend a day out here and find this weird looking whirlpool out at sea just there. Lots of sights I've not seen yet in the ocean on the game. Very much look forward to eventually getting to the point where I go out into that, seeing what's there. Anyway, I eventually come across a, what would you call this, a chessboard set piece? Not chessboard, yeah, chessboard, I was going to say checkers, no, it's definitely chessboard. We see some knights, some mechanical knights. We destroy them and get some gears. So if I'm going here, I've managed to get some extra gears, as well as some bone shards. And I don't notice till I put the fire down, but yeah, there's these little light bulb spiders. I think that's part of the steampunk item recipes mod. So it gives the clockworks a chance to just spawn those in upon death. They're just cool little mobs that spawn in and they give off a light, wander around the place. I think if you destroy them, you just get a light bulb. Not as in an actual light bulb, as in, you know, the ones that you can use to fuel, say, like the miner's lamp and your lantern and stuff. Those ones. But yeah, we've now got quite a few extra resources to take back to base. Very successful trip. I decide on the way back that I should probably stop by the swamp and see if I can get those tentacle spots I need for a raincoat. So I stop by and get buffed up ready, and decide to go and have a fight with the tentacles. But of course some bats think they can outsmart Abigail first. They thought wrong. Anyway, on that note we go and attack the tentacle that's just here, I believe it is. Now, normally, Wendy has a... Yeah, and we get the tentacle spots right away, by the way. So, excellent. Excellent there. Absolutely brilliant. Wendy normally has minus 25% damage. Abigail makes up for that by being with her. So that's how you kind of meant to play Wendy. Don't think of her as having less damage, think of her as having part of her damage being in a AoE that's triggered by Abigail. So you have to play a little bit differently, but not that much, and it definitely has its utility. I'd certainly give away that damage for the AoE hit on any character just because of its utility against swarms of enemies. I believe getting mighty like this though gives you a 50% damage bonus, I believe, so yeah, that's why we suddenly start smacking them for an absolute ton of damage. when we're in this state. Because I think it's that much, don't hold me to it. Might be more, I don't know. But it's also reflected in the stats and attributes mod that we've got, the stats and achievements mod I think it's called. When we put our damage up, it actually takes multiple skill points sometimes to increase the percentage by 1, even though it's meant to be 1 skill point for each percentage of damage you gain. With Wendy, obviously, she gets 0.75 damage for each skill point we put into damage. So the modifier carries over. So I think it like affects the base amount, and then the modifier must go over the top of it. Anyway, on the way back we get attacked by hounds, but it's not just hounds this time. You'll see when it shows up. But now with the tentacle spots with bone shards, we are spring ready, even though it's now a quarter of the way through it, but we are now ready in case another rainstorm comes. So always nice. Anyway, we've got a hound wave to fend off, and it sounds like they're about to show up. And yep, special on this one. Not a regular set of hounds. Luckily we are still... Actually we're not still buffed yet. This is just me and Abigail just smacking them. But yeah, we got a warg. So I'm kind of keeping my armor on at all times at this point. Been having a lot of issues with that. We're not going to be coming near to death ever again. Anyway, with that done, we then get ready and make our rain gear. So we now have a raincoat, as you can see there in our backpack, and a umbrella hat, which is made from the Deerclops eye that we managed to grab ourselves earlier on. So yeah, having alleviated him of his eye and his life, we've now got a fancy umbrella. Kind of disgusting to think that that's what it's made of, but yeah. Anyway, we're now very much spring ready. We've put our winter gear away, and so we shouldn't have to worry about the cold since we're not going to get wet now. Interestingly though, just here, we start fighting these spiders off. A huge spider wave, and our first spider queen shows up. So we've now got some spider queens below us. Now this is great because we can destroy the spider queen, and she will drop spider eggs that we can plant to create a spider nest. She also creates a new spider nest wherever she spawned from. So basically the way spiders work, they start at a level 1 nest, then they get a bit larger, then they get a bit larger, so they're up to level 3 spider nest. They then turn into a level 4 spider nest, which is the spider queen itself, and start moving around. But when they spawn in, they drop a brand new level 1 nest on the site of where the old nest was, and then they move around. So you can actually create an infinite amount of spider nests if you so wish. Or you can destroy some old ones that you don't need anymore, and you get a big pile of silk for doing so. So useful to keep in mind when you're wanting to grind out lots and lots of silk for clothes and other items and such. But we've now got that below us, so we're getting a nice amount of spiders down there, which means we're going to get more and more monster meat. So we probably want to start up some farming, especially since it's in spring, because things grow a bit faster during spring. So we've got something to mix in with our meat. We need some more veg and some fruit and things. We could also do with getting all that ice that's lying around the place before it melts in summer. Anyway, the next day, day 44, we get ourselves mighty, we grab Abigail, and we charge off into battle. We'll let Abigail deal with the smaller ones, and we go in against the queen, chunking a nice amount of damage away. I think with the mighty bonus, as well as using a tentacle spike, we're dealing about 50 damage per swing, roughly. So, pretty good. We also got a large amount of monster meat for that. We've got far too much of the stuff at this point, to be honest, but I'm not going to say no to it. I also, at this point, go back to the base, and I forget exactly when we came across it, but we have a lure plant at the base. Oh no, that's it. It spawned at the base. I'm just looking at my notes, I'm like, did we get that? And no, it spawns at the base. Now apparently you can get these to not spawn at your base by making sure that it's man-made tiles that the base is built on top of, so rather than it being grass and things, you put down some actual like planks or some carpet or something. But I decided that with a few spider nests around here, I can kind of put it between. So how one of these will work is slowly but surely a load of like little eyeballs will just spawn around the thing, and they will attack anything that wanders by. If they find any dropped items, and this is why you don't want them in your base, any dropped items will get eaten by the little eyeball plant things, and they will go into the main plant body, so they go into like the main plant that we've just planted. If you destroy the main plant body, what will happen is it will drop all the contained items. However, it will digest some of the items each day, so you want to be careful. So it will slowly but surely just chew away at all the spiders down there, providing us with loads and loads of items, and when we want to go and collect them, we just destroy the lure plant and then replant the thing. And lovely, we get a collared shirt from our free cosmetic unlock there. Woo! Anyway, that's day, I think that was day 43, and now basically day 44. But yeah, we've now got that lure plant in place, got plenty done there, as well as a dead spider queen. We've now got a spider queen hat too. So we're making some very good progress. Moving ahead a little while, we get to day 46 here, and I've spent the past few days basically burning down trees to get some charcoal. I've also been collecting the rotten eggs left by the birds. And I take a moment to just come up here, and we get ourselves a pet from the critter cave. And of course, it's a glom glom. Hey. And then we get attacked. Of course we do. But on that note, yeah, we've now got our own little pet. He can join the crew here. So we've got what, like 3 pets and a dead sister following us around. And there's another egg up for grabs there as well as some scraps of meat and things. It's literally, it might as well just be raining food onto me at this point as well. I've also been trying out the umbrella and raincoat because it had been raining for like basically since we last had a cut until this point. It's just been raining. So it was at this point as well that using the night would gather up to this point as well, the charcoal and those rotten eggs. I started creating a large amount of gunpowder, and so at this point we've got a very large amount of gunpowder. How much we got? Yeah, we've managed to create 7 already. Pretty good. And we're still drinking copious amounts of tea, and we've got meaty stews on tap basically at this point. I think at one point my previous bird unfortunately was not looking too good. And so we got a new one. That's what happens when you're away from the base for a few days, I suppose, but anyway. As far as my notes go, is we have basically spent the next few days gathering ice, making tea and cooking all of those ingredients in the fridge, because basically I had gathered so many ingredients that it took me a few days basically trying to turn them all into meals. And so here we are on the end of day 48. And yeah, we have been basically around the base a lot and have put, yeah, we've gathered a lot of tea leaves, which we've turned into tea tablets, and we've also just got a massive amount of ice in the fridge. So that's basically all we've managed to do, and it's now nearly day 49. In fact, if you look at the fridge here, yeah, we've got a full stack of ice. We're even starting to feed meat to Glom Glom because we've got so much of it. We're living like kings, essentially. Unsurprisingly, the meat situation, it only gets better. And there's now a lure plant in the middle of all this mess. Just absolutely full of stuff. I will say, one thing with this is that the pigs, and you can see one of them going about doing it there, is when the pigs win, they will go about and just eat all of the food. So, we kind of want to... I don't think they literally eat all of it though, they seem to... I think they must have to either literally stand on it or be hungry or something, because they're not going after all of the frog's legs and things there. But you can see here, this is the one we planted earlier, it's kind of spreading now and taking over the place. So the spiders from there shouldn't be much of an issue now, and that should harvest them for us for food. As well as that, like I said, we've just been harvesting ice, going about our business, really, for the most part. So at this point we also go and drop this lure plant that we've just gathered next to the other spider den. So we're just kind of surrounding the spider dens with lure plants. And we go and chop a few trees down, get a few more logs. Unfortunately, we appear to have angered nature itself, and we've now got a tree guard spawned in. So make a quick getaway and head up to the base, hoping that perhaps the spiders will distract it for us. On day 51, so a few days later, we start burning away. We've planted a number of trees just here, and I burned them up so that we can create some charcoal, because once again we're looking for some charcoal. And we've managed to get rid of the tree guard. I think it did get grabbed by the spiders in the end. And just on that note, we get pacifist for not harming anyone for 40 minutes, apparently is an achievement. I don't know if we'd exactly call it that, since we've been a bit passive aggressive with letting them all slaughter each other, but yeah, sure, let's go with that. With the charcoal acquired and more materials gathered, we put down some more pig houses. It's kind of what we've been chopping all the wood for. And we've also now got a lightning rod there, you can see on the right in this area, so hopefully these pig houses and all those berry bushes should be safe from being exploded. So it's always nice. And now we're having to lure our entourage away from all that so I can actually place the things. But yes, we've now got a very nice amount of pig houses here. Little pig village starting to basically come together at the border of our base. We can go and grab some more berry bushes if we need. If we can hold them in the fridge though, is the main problem. Right. So at this point we reached day 53, and I've got another what's it? yeah, we've got another little to-do list here for the end of spring, so just kind of what I was expecting to try and do before the end of spring, start of summer. I wanted to get some cave gear and maybe make some more storage. I wanted to get some flingamatics ready so there were no wildfires destroying my base in summer, and it'd also help with hydrating crops and things and bushes and that, better than using fertiliser. But that was another thing, I wanted to start getting into farming, trying what the new farming update had to offer, because I'd not tried it yet. To that end, I started by getting some logs. So I started gathering these logs, and basically getting ready to use those for, creating some more storage boxes. Nice easy thing to start with, easy task to go at. It's also worth pointing out at this point that now I'd started using a magnifying glass to identify gear, so sometimes you get these pieces of gear with question marks on them. If you use the magnifying glass on them, it will tell you what they are. So I've got a self-repairing tentacle spike there, and a leeching tentacle spike, as well as a vorpal bow. Not entirely certain what some of them are, but I know the self-repairing's pretty good. I can understand that. I understand leeching. Vorpal, don't know. And I've got a self-repairing pickaxe apparently, so it takes it time to repair, but it will just auto-repair over time, so as long as you don't use it up all in one go, it will eventually repair itself, and you don't have to carry around loads of equipment and materials, so that's quite nice. It's also at this point that something strange happened around the base. You might have noticed it. There's a frog. There's a lot of frogs. There's an awful lot of frogs. It's the night of the well, not really The Walking Dead or anything, but it's the night of the falling frogs. So yes, we had a frog rain. It's a very slim chance that this happens, and it essentially, as far as it goes for Wendy, because Abigail is here and she exists, it is food falling from the heavens time. It does leave a mess in the base though. The worst bit is as well is when they do attack me there, they pull items out of my inventory. So now there's just all of my stuff scattered across the base, and there's frogs, just dead frogs everywhere. I've also tried out a new weapon type while I've been doing this. I've pulled out a rapier to see if that's any good. So I'm giving that a try. Trying out one of the new melee weapons in these mod packs. It seems pretty good so far. And in case you're wondering, yes, this goes on for a while. Can you imagine being anyone other than Wendy at this point? Good lord. But that's rough. We've even got killer bees getting in on this now. There's a killer bee or two in there too. It's now actually getting pretty bad in terms of, yeah, Abigail's actually hurting at this point. Anyway, we round them up, kill the rest off, and it looks like, at least for now, the frog rain's beginning to slow down a little. I'm trying to do as much as I can personally, but yeah. I'm just trying to bring her away from the frogs now to give her a moment to just recover quickly. Even healing her with some of these as well a bit. Some of these spider glands, but yeah. The frog rain's beginning to slow down a bit. And we've managed to survive. Though they're now attacking the bees up there. Needless to say, we're pretty good for food. Food's looking good. Abigail does unfortunately go down here. So we've now been left with a load of hostile frogs in the base that really dislike me. So the question is, do we attack knowing that there's a very good chance that they will attack back and, yeah, do a ton of damage, because, yeah, they group up on you. Anyway, we throw a punch in, at which point our armour snaps, because of course it does. And because they've pulled all the rope out, well, all the grass out of my inventory, I don't have enough to make more armour. So I have to go back and grab some rope. They've also, if you've noticed at this point, Abigail is in the first slot on the left in my inventory. So somewhere in this mess is Abigail's flower. And I have to find it and not die to frogs, which keep attacking me. So, yay! And that is basically how day 54 panned out. It's me being chased by a horde of frogs falling from the sky, trying not to die. Anyway, slowly but surely though, they do start to disperse as we're just cleaning the place up. So we don't really have to fight loads of them that are left now, we just kind of let them slowly wander out of the base, rather than getting killed over this. But we do now have more than a full stack of frog's legs. And there's more in the fridge as well, and there's still some on the floor, so we've got enough food to probably last a full calendar year. It's just probably not going to keep that long. Of course, in addition to cleaning up the base, I've of course gone and looked around the pig village, and there were a bunch of dead pigs, so I've now managed to create a number of honeyed ham dishes, which are in the fridge. And while I've been doing all that, I've been brewing some tea in the kettle. And basically that's how these days, for the most part, went. There you go, a bit more honeyed ham. I also at this point decided I should probably start making flingamatics ready for summer. Since it's nearly there, we need at least one around the base. And so I look at starting to create a flingamatic. This will basically fling snowballs around the base. It puts out fires, so any wildfires that occur during summer, they'll get automatically put out. And it will also refresh crops, so any crops that are withering or that need fertilising or anything, it will automatically do that for you. And it just basically prevents crops from failing, essentially, due to the summer heat. Which can happen relatively often. You do have to keep it fueled. With the best thing is probably just fill it with logs and that. And of course, I've got stuff all over the base, so we kind of need to do a bit of tidying and clearing up here, more than anything else. And on that note, it is the end of spring. You see a colour shift again, it's more of a sepia tone now, and we are officially into summer. The umbrella will keep the sun off our heads here, so it's good for spring and summer. Pretty useful to have. Summer is genuinely the most hated season in my opinion. It's the one I hate the most. It's the wildfires are just infuriating, having to have this fire extinguisher at your base. The fires you make to keep light on you just make you overheat and take damage. It's not a nice season in my opinion. I'd prefer to go through winter even though crops don't grow, because I mostly eat meat anyway. But yeah, I just particularly hate summer, you know, Because I mean, even in summer your crops wilt, and you have to have this flaming flingomatic at the base all the time. It's like winter, but it's harder to counter, I tend to think. You know, and it's just as bad, you know. Your opinion may vary, your mileage may, you know, your opinion may differ, your mileage may vary, but it's not a fun time for me. And so I'm looking to try and get into the caves at this point. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. But I've created my flingomatic, and I just kind of need to get some things ready. I'm going to try and get farming going before I finish up ready for the caves. But I am looking to basically go into the caves at this point, because I hate summer. So a few days of preparation around the base later, I'm spending more of my points, so we've got a decent amount of points now. We're putting some into heat insulation as well, just to help stave off the summer heat. Just that little bit better than we are doing. The stats, by the way, in there, they're showing what you've currently got as well. So, for example, my armor isn't all, you know, my defense isn't always 80-something%. That's including the buff that I'm getting from wearing a log suit. So keep that in mind. And the same with the insulation, given that I'm wearing a umbrella hat at the moment. So keep that in mind. I've also at this point gone and put a second flingomatic up as well. And yeah, rummaging around the footage, found it. So we've gone and placed one, covering most of the berry bushes and the pig houses. So it should get most, if not all, but that should stop any wildfires occurring here, where they might burn all of this stuff down. I think we don't quite get... We might miss one berry bush out of the range, but it's getting most of them for the most part. But generally speaking, just going around and just putting down these flingomatics, getting the base spruced up a bit, and then just desperately trying to make something out of all this meat and things we've got in the fridge before it all goes off. Because I think summer makes it go off even faster as well. So I'm just desperately trying to get everything used up at this point, so it doesn't go to waste. So most of this time was spent cooking, as well as creating those flingomatics. The next noticeable thing on day 59 is we start putting these farm plots up. So we're getting a nice bit of farming set up now, got a few plots, so we can now start to grow our own vegetables. We'll just need the seeds, which we've been picking up all this time and saving in the fridge. So we've got those, and we just, yeah, all we need to do now is just create as many of these farm plots as we can, and we can get to farming. I do love this little song it does. At the end of the day 59, we make our way slightly away from the base, and we go and capture some fireflies. This means we can now make a miner's hat, and we should be cave ready at this point. So we're getting ready to leave into the caves for the summer. We don't have to bother with all of this nonsense. On day 60 we go rabbit catching again now that the burrows are back open. And we managed to make a bit of room in our inventory and catch ourselves a couple bunnies. I am at this point going around just planting some crops, and I'm kind of hoping to plant these and come back to them being grown up a bit, and ready to harvest when I come back from the caves. At least that's the plan. And don't worry, I've noticed that I need to take a drink here. So, I think the issue is that the kettle is still brewing, yeah. So there we go, the kettle's brewed. We have a few sips. We unfortunately cannot yet harvest the, use the rabbits for making the, I think it is the prehistahatilator or something it's called. But we can't quite do it just yet, because the rabbits have unfortunately turned into beardlings, which means our sanity is a bit too low basically, so we need to get our sanity back up and then we can make that. So at this point I'm going gathering more bunnies, and at this point I've also found Chester. Now, he was just to the right side of the base as you're looking at it. So he wasn't actually far from the base. This entire time he was actually surprisingly close. I've only just noticed myself looking at the footage that he's appeared there. I've just been like, when did he arrive? It wouldn't surprise me if I did this if this happened days before, and I just didn't put it in my notes. But yes, at some point in the past few days I acquired Chester, and he was practically next to the base. This whole time, if I'd just walked a little bit further to the right, I would have found it. So unfortunately now, with it being winter, fire hounds spawn, which again is another reason to just leave. Because they can and will burn your entire base down. Much like they're burning down literally everything around here. So yeah, that's a thing. But yes, we've got the rabbits we need though, so we're good to go. And so, here we are, we've got all our ingredients. Now we just need to find somewhere to put it within the radius of the flingomatic, so yay. The base is getting a little bit crowded, and it doesn't help that there's all these followers following me around and all this junk left on the ground that I've still not got enough storage for. This is where if I'd have got Deerclops to destroy all those trees like I'd have planned, I'd have had enough boards to have gone and created way more storage chests. But it is what it is. Anyway, we find a spot eventually, and we've got that put down now. So the next thing is going down to the caves then is going to be a thing. It unfortunately as well looks like a lot of the plants that are coming up in the garden are actually weeds, unfortunately. But we've got plenty of food, plenty more growing, and we've got our miner's hat ready. We're ready to go down into the caves at this point. And so I try to drop all my belongings that I don't quite need right now, and we just get our hat, our miner's cap ready, and we get ready to go to the mines. The prehistahatilator, what's it called, is there as well. Everything's built, we're set, we're ready, and we're going caving. So now in the caves, we have, firstly we're going to need to fuel up our miner's hat, and then we also want to make sure that the bunnies don't murder me. Now, we've got some bacon and eggs in, I think it's Warby there, that we can use as basically a packed lunch. Luckily the rabbits seem to be asleep right now. Also, I don't know if having them in the dog's backpack counts, but they're not attacking me, so I'm assuming that as long as it's not in my backpack, it's fine. At which point we find this ruinous entrance. We need to clear the vines to be able to get in, I think. Oh no, we just go in apparently. So we enter the ruinous entrance, we get in, and this is from the Hamlet DLC for the single player original game. Now, these are essentially like little dungeons full of traps that you can go in and loot. So there's these pots that you can smash open, and there's sometimes chests and things. But again, you have to watch out for the traps. Now, the issue that we're having here is that, unfortunately, I'm surrounded by companions that do not take this into account when pathing. And there's about to be a rocks. Yeah, there's about to be a cave-in with some rocks. So yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, okay, let's just hopefully not set off the traps as much as possible. Let's just try not to set everything off, because my god, I think right now Wob is just, yeah, sat on, like the dog is just sat on a pressure plate. It seems that one of them might have been poisonous, and so now I have basically contracted man flu. Actually, it can't be man flu, I'm playing as Wendy, so I've probably got COVID, and she appears to be sneezing and sniffling. So to get through the vines, I need a machete, and now we can hack away at them. And as you can see, yep, so there we go, we've sneezed and it can cause us to drop items and things. So it's something to be wary of. But yes, we are now entering here, and we're just again trying to just explore and find some loot. Like here, we've got this full site. Pretty good. We found a yellow gem. So they're pretty good stuff you've got down here. And as you can see, as that comes in, yep, we sneeze, we drop our shovel. But yeah, a nice find. Nice little addition to the game, I think, this. Looks like Abigail has annoyed one of the battalists. And I'm realising at this point that the bacon and eggs might be an issue. We did bring, though, a giant tall bird egg, because when they're still in egg form, they don't actually, they don't go off. And apparently that sneeze causes to drop some nightmare fuel. I don't know if that was on me before, I think it created it. But yeah, as well as bringing down what I've currently got on me, I've also brought down, like I said, there's some eggs, there's some bacon and eggs, there's some tea tablets, and some healing items in the back of Woby, the dog there. So there's just loads of stuff in his backpack. We're going to be able to stay down here for a good long while. Plenty of equipment, plenty of items. Anyway, we press on into the next area, and it looks like it's full of pots again, and it doesn't look like there's an exit to this one, so this might be a short dungeon. Sometimes they can be long, sometimes they can be quite small. So we might have unfortunately hit a smaller one here. Anyway, I head back to the main door and back to the main entrance room and try the other door from there. And it gets us into here, so it's kind of a bit of an overgrown part of the dungeon. So if we need any grass or twigs or anything, we can find a bunch of them here. So I think I might as well just restock my myself on them. The pillars as well there that you can mine, if you do so, it causes a cave in, so rocks just fall down on you. More likely to hurt you than to help, because most of the rocks do smash on impact, so while it can create things like gems and gold nuggets, it's more likely to just pummel your character and you take a bunch of damage. There appears to be like some sort of fountain in the middle there. But I can't fully tell exactly like what it is because it's just a nightmare to click on because there's just loads of stuff growing out of it as well. But yeah, there's some kind of old fountain. I imagine we can probably drink from that if we need. But it looks like it needs something. Yeah. Oh, there you go. It's a wishing well. I know that in Hamlet there are some coins that you can get. So maybe it's wanting us to throw some of those coins in. Anyway, we refuel our miner's hat and continue on. So it looks like in here we've got a spooky ghost that is not bothered by Wendy, I don't think, because, well, it's Wendy. In fact, they just go away. There you go. Bonuses of being Wendy. She ain't afraid of no ghost. In fact, she's friends with them, actually. But yeah, we're getting quite the nice amount of loot here. Oh, and there's the day ticking over. Something with the caves, it's difficult to tell the passage of time. So if you remember, we came in on day 64 or 5, I think it was. Keeping in mind that as we load up and connect into the caves, time is still passing on the server, so that's had a bit to do with it as well. But it is now day 67. We're already at 67. It's racking up pretty fast and furious now, but yes. We've just gone past the 2/3 mark of the run being done. Anyway. So, so at this point, yep, we head on out, making sure we don't drop anything. I kind of just use the spider silk, hoping that I can repair something with it, but then I kind of realise that I've not got any clothing items on me. But that seems to be the end of the dungeon. So at that point I come out of the dungeon for a bit and find a touchstone and a giant tentacle as well as a dead guy. And I generally just start exploring the caves. You're probably going to notice we'll carve through a bunch of days real quick here. Because I'm mostly just exploring, there's nothing crazy happening or going on, it's mostly just me pottering around in the dark. Sickness there does appear to have finally been alleviated, so that's some good news. So we're no longer going to be sneezing and dropping items everywhere. But yeah, mostly it's just going around the caves and exploring. So just, you know, for example, at this point I find some weird little pools of water. And I use this to restock my water supplies on and throw some tea tablets in that I brought down and make some tea out of it. The good thing with the kettle... Oh, more fell down doing all that. The good thing with this kettle though is that it boils the water as well as actually... Yeah, it boils the water as well as just holding it. Which purifies it, as well as, you know, being able to make tea. So you get tea that reduces your tea that restores your sanity, reduces your thirst, and also is 100% pure. There's no like dirt and grime in there. Pretty good way of staying hydrated and keeping your sanity up while you're in the caves. So even though the whole first mod is really, it's an increase in difficulty when it comes to the caves, it can actually be a bit of a lifesaver for keeping your sanity up when you need it. which is pretty good. Of course, that said, sometimes in the caves you can just come across nightmare monsters. They kind of just exist around here as like, and they'll be around like fissures and things. Even if your sanity's pretty good, they can just show up sometimes, which is a bit of a pain. They can be difficult to fight, but generally speaking, as long as you kind of have to like bait the attack out. The issue I'm having here though is that I've not quite got some armor on yet, or I have, but it's at 1%. So that's the issue. I don't want to get basically I don't want to get my health ripped away from me. The good thing with the shield though is that it can help you just take these hits. So rather than like, one thing with the base game you would have to do is like kite them back and forth, and then that's how the combat would work. So here I would wait for him to attack, then walk backwards, then walk back up to him and hit him. And it's a bit difficult when you're doing it when you're just doing it with like clicking things, and even if you use like the keyboard controls and hotkeys, and that is still a bit annoying. The combat is definitely the weaker portion of the game. I think I just missed that other bit of nightmare fuel there as well. But it is what it is. So even with you managing your sanity well, you can still just have to face those down here. They spawn in certain areas. But yeah, it's mostly while I'm down here I'm just kind of exploring, and as you can see I'm just kind of filling out the map in the bottom left. There's been a few cave-ins at this point. I've now got some extra gems. I'm struggling to carry them all. It's a pretty good haul. That said though, the thing I'm really looking for is to try and find the ruins. So, and when I say ruins, I don't mean those, like that dungeon ruin that we just went in a few moments ago. The issue is though that again it's a nightmare navigating down here. It's also spawned obviously the hamlet and shipwreck stuff that spawns in the caves, which has I think that's messed a bit with the actual world generation for the caves. So I'm also finding these fossil things everywhere. Not entirely certain what they're for, but yeah. So, but like I say, the main issue is that because that's messed with the world generation, like actually finding the ruins that are supposed to spawn down here, like I think they're like called the nightmare ruins or whatever, but finding those is a goddamn nightmare. But yeah, it's a bit of an issue. But yeah, you can kind of see here on the map, it's difficult to navigate. Even if you know vaguely what you're doing, it's not exactly easy to navigate down here. And so, yeah, difficulties are being had. I'm surviving mostly as well off of the food that I've brought down. I'm surviving off mostly like carrots and things that I'm getting off the bunnymen biomes and such. But I am finding an issue now where I'm nearly full on loot. We're hitting day 70 at this point. So at this point I decided to try and make a beeline for the surface and just kind of empty my rucksacks and things back up there. And just, yeah, generally speaking, drop off my items at the base and tie things up a bit and come back down with some fresh supplies. But yeah, so back at the base you can see a lot of the plants have grown, but some have wilted in that time. Most of the food has gone off in the fridge. And there's just stuff all over the floor now because I've been just throwing it down everywhere. So all kinds of problems at the base now because I've not been looking after it all this time. So I basically just spend a couple of days, like a few days entirely, just messing around at the base, getting rid of the rotted plants, harvesting the good ones, and getting my sanity back to being at a good point, and just managing the base for a few days. That's basically all I do. We'll get another full moon at this point as well, day 71. And yeah, I'm just kind of trying to use what ingredients I have to just make whatever I can, and just devour what's left in the fridge. Yeah, I decide that the stuff that's gone off, I'm just going to use the rot to fertilise new crops. And I'm trying to see if I can get these. I think I'm trying to get the eggs used to oh, and of course, yeah, that was fire out, so me not realising, oh yeah, Flingomatic needs turning off. And the penny drops. I then realised that the Flingomatic had turned it off the first time, but yeah. The interesting thing you can do this, if you cook an item, it restores some of its freshness, because obviously it would, you cook off some of the bacteria, yeah? It gets burnt off in the cooking process. So things that are about to go stale can be made just about fresh again if you cook them. So if you want to create something in the crock pot, say you've got some just about to go off eggs, cook them on the fire, that'll bring them back to being green, cooked eggs, and then you can throw them in the crock pot, and the crock pot will average out the freshness of the ingredients when it creates the new item. And that's how you can take things that are just about to go off and actually create something that's actually reasonably fresh. Just don't then leave that in the fridge for too long. I do wish the food kept a little bit longer in the game, but it is what it is. Anyway, again, mostly clearing out the garden. Anyway, here we are on day 74, and sanity is probably a bit too low really to be in the caves. I've brought some meatballs and omelettes down with me. I'm probably going to want to try and avoid the bunnymen while we're carrying those around. But I've also got a few mushrooms that I'm going to try and cook up and restore some of my sanity. Because that's probably most of what I want to get done here before we venture any further into the caves. So, and that said, again, I'll warn you, I'm probably going to be skipping a bit ahead here because my notes for the next few days are exploring. But yep, we get the mushrooms down us. We've got this annoying arm thing that won't go away. Yeah, I think the only way to get rid of those when you're in the underground is to actually get a light on and chase after them. Otherwise they don't seem to go away. I chased that 2 or 3 times then, all the way back to its spawn, and it seems to be a bit dodgy down here. It may be due to mods, just because you can get weird things like that happen with mods, but I think it's just because we needed a light to be able to like shine the light on where we were spawning from. But anyway, I continue on in my journey in the underground, now with some sanity fixed up, and I find this giant mess of spiders. And some dead tentacles. Woo! That bodes nice and well, doesn't it? So we've got a bit of spider killing to do. I decided to take this moment while Abigail's just dealing with that to take a few sips from my tea and restore some more sanity. So sanity is now sorted, and we're kind of just trying to explore these branching paths off in the corners of the cave here. See if they actually lead anywhere. But yeah, most of everything I pass by turns out to be more or less just dead ends. We've eaten through our meatballs and things by this point. They had gone a bit stale, but we have at this point found a bunch of carrots and things that we can use to just keep going for a few more days. So nice to find a bit of food here just to extend the length of the expedition we've got going. Of course, it doesn't all go smoothly over the coming days, and I found a new use for the shield. Just hide under it when the rocks start falling. Nice and interesting way of using it. And we've found a little underground pond down here as well, and we're able to top up our water. Of course, then I'm just beginning to need some help with sanity again, and I just happen upon this green mush tree forest, which I promptly start chopping down into, and create a campfire, cook them up, and the next thing you know, I've got my sanity nicely restored. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, it's I just put the campfire down next to all these trees that are bunched up with each other. I'm fairly certain as well, whenever you put down a tree, not a tree, a campfire down here, it seems to just summon these things. So at this point, but I think I finally decided I'm probably going to have to yeah, I think I've got my hat there ready to turn, to put on, in case they leave me in darkness, but I decided to just pop it on because it seems that I can't just, yeah. You need it on to be able to chase them off, and it's a bit annoying, but, it is what it is. So, mushrooms cooked, and sanity restored. I decided to keep journeying on. We're now on day 77. Like I said, this is going to go real quick. So a lot of time just a lot of time passes down here real quick, you know? So at this point my character's saying, oh, I think we should leave, and I'm fighting these spiders off. At this point I'm thinking that there's going to be a rock slide, a caving or something, and rocks fall down, but no, it's worse. So that is the equivalent of a hound attack in the caves. And just as it saves there and causes to lag a bit, so I'm now wondering what the hell these are. They are certainly a bit tougher than hounds. The good news is that Abigail's kind of hitting them while they're going up and down like that, so she's getting all three. And we're nearly through them all. But yeah, we managed to fend them all off. And we get these weird glow fruit things in the meantime, which I just think to stick inside of Warbin, why not? I've also found some like useful gear while I've been in here. I found that gardener's hat in there and the digger-majig, whatever it's called, as well. And then I just have to do some inventory management while I figure this out. At which point, of course, the caving happens. So, shields up. Ooh, smacked in the face by it. But yeah, there we go. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out where perhaps like the ruins and things might be, but I've explored a large portion of the map. There's still a fair bit more, but yeah. It just doesn't seem to end. Anyway, just when we need him. So you can't bring Chester down here, but what happens instead is you can find hutch here. So rather than there being a Chester down here, or rather than being able to bring Chester, you find a new person entirely called Hutch. And that's how it seems to work. So we'll also find this dead guy here who looks like he was doing a bit of farming or something, because he's got a pitchfork, but yeah, underground mushroom farming, I guess. Anyway, we find him down here, we get his stuff, and we put it in hutch now, as well as some of our unused crap that we've got on us. But we've now got that bit more inventory space, and we're still going pretty strong. Still good on food, decent on sanity, got some water left. We're good to go, really. And so it's at this point where we find this jumping passage in the cave there. We've got this sort of strange passageway we can jump into. I'm wondering what the hell this is. And it's like a wormhole of sorts. So I'm just kind of sat there going, what the hell is that? Anyway, I get in there and it seems to be completely full of spiders. There's some kind of evil spider biome here. My sanity's looking a bit worse for wear as well. Probably should have grabbed more mushrooms earlier. Looks like 7 wasn't enough. And yeah. Oh, that looks smooth as well. It looks like we've got a fireproof log suit at some point as well. I've just noticed as well. I guess it wasn't important enough that I noted that down, that we inspected our log suit and found it was fireproof. But anyway. So, I'm now exploring this strange passageway, fighting off large amounts of spiders. And you might have noticed as well, if you did, then you've got way better eyes than I had. Our temperature's dropping on the right there. It's dropping quite a lot. So this is a rather cold biome actually, and I just haven't noticed it. Anyway, half frozen and shivering, we make a fire, and of course immediately we get those arms spawning, because they always do, it seems. And so we have to turn the light on to chase them off, and my god, they're so far away. Why? So I have to give up chasing one to fend off the other, and then go back. It's a whole thing. And then we can finally warm ourselves up. It was at this point that I decided to lift some weights, and there's a reason for that. You see, I found something in these caves that I didn't know was even in Don't Starve, and I'm not just on about that nightmare fissure up there. Yeah. You see, I saw $1,000 on the health bar, and I'm like, that's got to be a boss of some description. And there's this platypine thing here, so being a bit wary, I decided to actually use my bow for once. And we get some meat, which is very much welcome. And we just shoot the bear to death. But yeah, there's apparently bears down here. And it dropped a bunch of meat and a few, a few fish. And we're now freezing again. Fun. Also Terrorbeak. Not so fun. All while the nightmare hand thing is coming to steal our fire there. That is keeping us from freezing to death. Also, that thing's getting hits in while this is happening. Luckily, the fissure seems to have started to go away now, but still. We are generating mightiness while this is happening as well. So, a few more swings. Ooh, there goes the armour. So now we're at risk. But I think we've pretty much got it down at this point. There's the mightiness triggering. It had worn off from having fought the bear and that. Like I say, it doesn't take long for it to go back down when you're out of combat. Yeah, we're already back down. So, anyway, that's what we got up to in this cave. Also, weird dung beetle monster there. And the bats, so yeah, this was a whole thing. So we go mad a few times, we fight a terror beak, we kill a bear with a bow and arrow. And I think then is when we leave from here. Anyway, once we've left, I move towards a nearby exit, but just before I go, because I kind of knew at this point there was no way I was going to explore the caves before the end of this. And I just wanted to know, I gotta know, where were the goddamn ruins that I was looking for? So I spawn in these telescopes that help you unveil parts of the map and just start looking. While this thing tries to murder me, of course, but anyway. I get to business and get a bit of exploring done with these. But you'll probably be surprised. You'll probably think, oh, that'll easily find them. Yeah. When I say that it's messed a bit with the spawn generation down here, having this like overhaul mod on, because it's added like additional areas and biomes. Yeah, it has. It has. Anyway, yeah. Fueling that up, having a look around. We have found, yeah. As you can see, there's something over there. I think that might be... I was wondering if that was the ruins at first. So I'm kind of suspecting that it is. But I'm thinking then, okay, well, how do I get there? So I'm kind of just like looking around in a circle for myself. And yeah, the map filled in. Yeah, I've no idea how to get over to those. I'm wondering if you have to find some of these these like passages to maybe teleport around. But this place is like a goddamn maze. It is horrific. Genuinely do not want to see it ever again. Luckily, if you look in the world clock in the top right now, we've not only skipped past summer, we've nearly gone through the entirety of autumn down here. That's how ridiculous this is. But yeah. Anyway. Have a little last look around and we skedaddle before the before the nightmare monsters get us. But yeah, that's what it looks like underground. Those areas we've been to are completely disconnected and floating off in the distance. But aye, very peculiar world generation going off down here. Very peculiar indeed. And again, yeah, I've no idea how to connect up to those. I'm wondering if I could maybe use a rope bridge now I think about it. If that would actually allow you to connect up to places you're not necessarily meant to be able to. Could be an idea. Anyway, that's the stint in the cave that I had. So next, it's back outside. So back at the base, there's just I've just got stuff. I've just got so much stuff to organise. It's ridiculous. Of course, we're just trying to combine whatever we've got available into food, and luckily this time we fought on and didn't bother putting loads and loads of crops out ready for when we got back, because we knew we weren't going to be back in time. So that's something. Then basically I spent most of my time here just organising the loot, and then the next day I went back for Hutch. We grabbed the stuff off of him and brought them back and put them in Chester and brought it all back to the base. And I also then went ahead and I'd also been collecting saplings while I was down there. But eventually here, the sanity eventually caught up with me. The next few days were basically just completely, it would rain all the time. My sanity was already low, and I couldn't manage to quite get it back in time. My health was fairly low from being in the caves all that time. And so I found myself beset on all sides by shadow monsters, at which point a terror beak shows up. Now, this isn't too bad until there's suddenly 2 of them. And the main issue here is you hear that snap, that's my armour. Now, I've still got the shield, but when there's 2 of them and their attacks aren't quite lined up with each other, you get a problem. And then, because of the rain, yep, I'm suddenly freezing to death, and then it hits night time. And I think you know where this is going. Yeah. So I spent the next day heading back over to this birch nut biome thing, and I found a touchstone. And so I revived and just ran my ass back to the base basically from here. So really, having got back, we're not in good shape, but at least that's restored my sanity. I think using a touchstone doesn't incur a max health penalty either, so swings around about, so it's not too bad then that. But yeah, I basically head back to base here. Anyway, back at the base, and sort of healed up in that way. It's raining still again, so once again our sanity's looking a bit dodgy. And our health isn't great either. So we're not doing fantastically. Also, if you can hear it, yep, there are dogs. Now, my thinking here was maybe, I don't know, I can try and get them away from the base so they at least don't destroy things around the base. If there's a fire one by any chance, because it's still autumn, so we've got our tentacle spike. We've not got any armour on still, but we have got this helmet, so there's that at least. Anyway, yeah, so as you can hear, the hounds are coming in, and we have several of them at once, and there's fire ones there as well. As I mentioned, it isn't winter yet, which means fire ones can spawn in, and they did. The only armour I've got is my helmet. Abigail is still dead. Sanity's low, and there's 6 of them. You do love it when the game just kicks you while you're down there, you gotta love it. And we don't even have enough time to quickly get Abigail out even in a weakened state, and we are dead. I revived the next day on a florid postern, basically the spawn area. We do get a maximum health penalty for this, but keep in mind our max health has been increased, which I think is why the UI isn't really indicating it properly up in the top right. So there's that, but yes, we So I think now it'll be probably somewhere around 140ish or something, our max health, somewhere around there. But yeah, max health will have diminished at this point, and all of our items have dropped, and we've got all that to organise now. So I was hoping at this point to try to get some boat stuff done. Get like on a boat, do some exploration, and this has completely set all my plans for that back. I don't know what became of the hounds here. They seem to have they might have just despawned, or maybe the frogs and pigs fought them. I don't know. But yeah, once again, I've got a stack of notes on this part, which is what I was trying to get done just before the end. So I was trying to make a pair of moggles out of the glow fruit that I got from those cave worms in that attack. Because you can apparently make moggles with them, which are like night vision goggles. That means I need to go and get some mole worms, and I need to use those in a crafting recipe, and it makes the moggles. So I'm trying to do that before everything spoils, because it's all currently spoiling. I needed more storage, obviously. As we can see, it's getting ridiculous. I wanted to build some base defences as well. I put Winona's character kit onto me, so that means, again, as well as duct tape, I can make like generators and catapults. So I wanted to do that. So in addition to that, yeah, I wanted to then get what else was there here? Yeah, I wanted to make a final weapon that would definitely help me, especially out on the high seas. That I think would kind of mark the end of this 100-day playthrough, and possibly set the stage for the next one, so to speak. You'll see what I mean when we get there. Anyway, after dying to hounds and that, first thing I did was try to get these moggles sorted. So a lot of base organisation, because now I finally had a chance to properly organise after coming out of the caves. We have been interrupted numerous times up to this point. But yes, I could finally get organised. Having gotten organised, we hit another full moon, and I used these rocks as bait to get some mole worms, which is my my first bit of progression towards these moggles. And there's another one there. The pengals are back, so as you can tell, we have skipped autumn due to being in the caves. And we've got what we need for the moggles now. Other than that, I did a lot of tree chopping, base organising. I needed to... basically, I needed to make sure that everything was taken care of and sorted at the base. And then I wanted to get some catapults and that ready from Winona's character equipment that I've added, that I've kind of bolted onto Wendy here. Because I've wanted to try them out for a while. Interesting thing there, if you're wondering why my peppy glom glom thing has started glowing. Apparently if you feed these glow gems to animals, it can make them glow and be a light source for I think a day or so. Interesting little thing that. But I'm interested in the moggles. I've also been putting the lantern I found to good use. In winter it means I can still wear a woolly hat, whilst I've still got some light to work during the dark. So, it's quite nice. And I've basically been using that to get a bit of extra work done. In addition to that, yep, we finally summon Abigail back. Make sure that these spiders don't mess with them during the night. We know how this is going to go, especially when it's night time and she does extra damage. Yeah. No chance. So the first snows are beginning to fall now. As you can see, it's starting to make everything go all snowy. We are now on to day 93. We're very close to the end here. We're kind of just riding it out until it's all over. Models have been made. We're pretty much back on track now. Health and sanity are back in a really good spot. I think I've managed to get as well a couple of health boosters made, because I think if I remember they require like bee stingers and there might be mold in there as well or something. It's stuff that I had lying around the base, to be fair. But max health seems to be restored, and most of this time was spent just getting all these trees chopped and using the wood to create some storage at the base and act as some fuel for winter. Anyway, it's beginning to look a bit more organised around the base. As you can see, just in the top there, we've got a tree guard that's appeared because we got a bit excited, we'll say. We've created some marble trees as well that we can use and mine later on, and we can get now a renewable source of marble at the base, which we can use to make slightly better armour. It does slow us down though when we use that armour, so might not be worth always having on, but useful to have it. We've now as well placed 2 more chests at the base, so basically I now spend a bit of time just organising everything into the new chests and cooking a few things up at the base. I've also at this point built the shadow manipulator. Unfortunately I can't find anywhere to put it in the base, and it took me a while, but I eventually found a spot. I destroyed the prehistoric, whatever it's called. I don't know if I'm calling it the right thing there, but I destroyed that, thinking I could just replace it with this, just put this on the same spot. No, apparently it still won't let me place it in that location. Don't know why, it just doesn't. Anyway, it is down now. And so now, I'm looking to try and create those base defences. I'm thinking, you know, get some catapults and a gun or well, catapults and a generator and that. But as you can see here, I'm also looking at a musket. And yeah, that's the weapon. We're finally making the musket. On day 96, we have finally made the musket. All that gunpowder we've made up until now is finally going to get used. Anyway, I received another little goodie bag and decided this was a good opportunity to swap back my costume for something new. Bit of a change of pace. So, I'm not quite sure how to I don't think there is like a musket ball pouch or anything, and it certainly isn't letting me put them in the quiver. So, I'm not entirely certain as to if I can carry them all around without just having them loose in my inventory, but anyway, I've created some musket balls, so we are ready to go on that front. And yeah, basically, we are ready with our gun. And of course, that means we are no longer some warmongering barbarian tribeswoman girl surviving out in the wilderness. We don't have to dress like a Viking now. No. Now we've got firearms. We're sophisticated, right? We're sophisticated. We drink tea and we shoot things. We're not one of those peasant rabbles, those barbarian lot. And now, with our aim to go out on the 7 seas and sail to foreign shores and conquer them in the name of the mighty British Empire, of course, there's only one thing we have to be wearing while we're going around with our muskets. So yes, we've now transitioned to the Imperial Age, and we're looking for a decent pair of boots to go with our red coat outfit here. Because of course we are. So now, fashion sorted, we're ready to get out there. The catapults are being built. The generator is ready. We're good to go. Now, I must admit, I was a bit disappointed with these. The generator has an incredibly teeny little radius on it. And the catapults require an extreme amount of rocks, like 15 rocks. You know, it is a lot. So, it's an issue. I'm not overly fond of the catapults at the moment. Not only that, but you'll see the issue as well when it comes to the fuel consumption in a moment. But yeah, they are not all they're cracked up to be. So yeah, as you can see, the little generator radius around it is tiny. And as you can see, that generator, it's already starting to lose a lot of power. Like, we're already nearly a quarter of the way down. It's been like... It looks like you probably need to put a niter into it almost every day in order to power it. I would have expected that the catapults would only draw power when they actually fired or something, but no. It's just using them. It's just using power constantly non-stop, and it's infuriating. Anyway, so this is all on day 97. So we've got the base defences set up. We now have firearms, and we're nearly at the end. Unfortunately, the goal of sailing the 7 seas will probably have to wait, as we are a bit too close to the finish line to be going about building boats now. But I do at least want to start making my first steps in that direction, and I decide that I'm going to make a think tank. As you can see there as well, the gun... When I said at the beginning that the ranged weapons mod doesn't exactly... I think it's literally called the archery mod. It's like the archery mod fix and something like that, but... It works, but it's simultaneously... It's janky as hell. As you can see, there are no custom animations whatsoever. You just kind of wave the gun at them like a wand, and there's a puff noise and they die. There's no bang, there's no muzzle flash, it just kind of... It kind of sucks, but at the same time, at least it gets the job done. It doesn't do it in a flashy way, which you'd like, but at least as a mod it does actually work, so... Swings and roundabouts. But yeah, animations would be nice. But I think the problem would be is you'd have to animate it with every character, and every set of arm sprites would need like a gun firing animation. It'd be an enormous amount of work, I assume, at this point. I finally bothered as well at this point to finally put down the twig saplings that I had found down in the caves. Because all I'd been finding up on the surface were twiggy trees, and there weren't many of these actual twig saplings. And I wanted something that I could just pick rather than something I'd have to constantly chop down and renew. So I found these down there and I finally bothered to plant them. And it's not really letting me put them in neat rows. I'm having difficulty with that with the geometric placement. I think there's just like too much stuff around and it's causing everything to bug out a bit, but yeah. Anyway, they're finally down. Oh yeah, I think we can't put anything down there because Abigail sat in the way, and then we kind of a bit close to each other as well, but anyway, they're down. But on that note, I start thinking, well, you know, it's day 98 at this point, and I at least want to know what I'm going to need to create a boat, in case I decide to do a sequel to this, maybe, you know, Don't Starve for 200 days. So what I decided to do at this point is I've gone over here and I've created a think tank. What I'm hoping to actually do here is eventually create like a big harbour at this coast here. I want to create like a nice big harbour that goes out into the sea. I think it'd be quite nice. But not able to at the moment. So that's the end goal here. So I placed the think tank. I did have a quick look as well at what I would need for boats, and it's basically just all of the wood in existence. I don't know what mod they're offering, by the way, the nuts that I've found. Never seen them before up until now. No idea. Anyway. So, think tank created. Basically a science machine for the seas. I then go about, well, I have to spend the night here because it's basically, it's dark. And we move on to day 99. So, with day 99, I managed to once again anger a tree guardian while chopping trees. I basically spent all 99 just chopping trees, ready to eventually make a boat. And with that, the day is over. I'm back at the base. And there's not much left to do. Now you're probably thinking, well, okay, something must happen because you've included this in the video here. So what happens here? Oh yeah, of course, the game can't let me rest on day 99. Yep, you can hear it. We get a hound attack in the middle of the night. So I go and I stick some niter in here. Notice as well, niter doesn't even fully fill it. I stick a few logs on the fire. Musket is ready. But yeah, a niter doesn't even fill the thing. I get my helmet on. Boom. Fire the gun. Now luckily there can't be fire hounds at this point. So they're not going to burn the base down. And the catapults do an absolutely fantastic job as well. And you probably might not have been able to tell because again it doesn't make a noise when I do it. But I am shooting at them with the gun. I even realise at this point that I've not even really taken damage, so I don't really need to heal or anything, which is pretty good. And that's how day 99 ends. And so of course then, a glutton for punishment that I am, I decide to try the musket out on the pengulls. It just about half kills them. I think I even buffed the damage of this thing. And it's still a bit... it's not great. Maybe it'd be pretty good against single targets, but not so much groups. Anyway, I decided to leave my musket for a while, let it just... so I don't use all of the ability up. And I have a fight versus these pengulls. They hit a lot harder than you'd expect. And then I kind of realised as I'd cleared them out that they hadn't had a chance to lay eggs at the nest yet. So that was a bit frustrating. That said though, I realised at this moment, I was like, oh yeah, that's 100. And then I kind of thought, do I actually have to make it to the end of 100 for it to count? Or is it just fine if it's at the beginning of day 100? Rather than think this through, I just decided, well, I'm already like halfway through the day nearly. I'm already practically done. I might as well, eh? So I mine some ice, and we finish up, and that is the end of the 100 days and don't starve. So thank you very much if you've been watching this entire time, if you've managed to make it through. Ooh, let's see, 3.5 hour mark, lovely. It's been a good while. I might be tempted to do another one of these for 200 subscribers. Funnily enough, in the amount of time it's taken to get this done, I'm already a quarter of the way there. We're on 124, I believe, at the time of recording, so... Hey, you know, if you want to see the next... Honestly, at the current growth rate of the channel, we're probably due to hit that sometime in November, but... If you want to see it faster, you know what to do. If you liked what you saw, you know what to do. The subscribe button is right there. Cause me 8 minutes of suffering in the sequel. Plans, if that happens, by the way, I have actually left some notes here so that if I come back to this, I'll actually have something to go off. I'm wanting to do some boat exploration, obviously. We've explored the caves, we've fought a few bosses. I'm looking to try and explore on the boats and see if I can find the Shipwreck Archipelago and the Hamlet Pig Continent. That, and there might be a case, I might have to fight Deerclops 2 before I do that, because obviously it's going to take a while to get all those materials together to make a boat. I need to remember while I'm doing that to have him actually destroy a few trees for me. Maybe get him to fight a spider queen or something. You know, use him rather than just, you know, fight him. Another idea that I'm thinking is I probably want to kill all the spiders for levels, so definitely the great spider culling must happen. Maybe flick the catapults on at the base and just drag them all back with me. I don't know if they'll follow me that far, they don't usually stray too far from the nests, but... Anyway. Ooh, clear my throat. Been talking for 3.5 hours. But yeah. Also, I'm wanting to, while I'm exploring on the boat, I want to head towards Monkey Island. There's an area of the map that's been added. There's a few actually, a few areas of the map added as part of Don't Starve Together that weren't in there when I last played. Monkey Island, you know, as in moon and key, but it is also full of monkeys, so you know. It should probably just be called Monkey Island. But you can go there and you can trade for schematics that allow you to build some docks as well as some other various things for boats and that. And you can nick some bandanas off the monkeys there. And then, you know, burn the houses, raid their villages, as you do. As we will be doing, as we're now a red coat. It's not, you know, murdering and pillaging when you're doing it to monkeys. It's fine, it's fine. Anyway, that's basically the direction I'll be heading in on the, if there is another part. Again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you even more for subscribing, if you did do so. If you are considering it, remember, you can directly cause me 8 minutes of suffering, because that's the length of the Don't Starve day, by hitting that button. Much appreciated for your views so far. I will probably, by the time this is coming out, I'll probably be on my summer holidays, most likely, or just about be ready to go. Haven't been since before COVID, very much looking forward to it. Nowhere special, but the food's going to be nice at least, and there is a beach, so should be good. Coming up on the channel, I've got a few things planned. There's going to be the Great War Western Front should be coming up soonish. I recorded a few a while back, but then there were War World and Death Road Tournament and Wild Frost and Resident Evil. Suddenly there were an influx of games. I think it's all the games that kind of I missed during. Well, all the games that kind of not I missed that missed the Christmas window. So it seems to be the case that that's happened. Then I've filmed like 10 episodes and it's been pushed back on the back burner. In the meantime, I've also got a few other things that I've revisited. I've kind of filmed them preemptively. As Death Roads and Warworld come to an end, as well as I've kind of given up on Wildfrost. It's taking too long, and I'm not getting anywhere with it. I have beaten it at least once, but I was hoping to try and at least attempt for true ending, but I'm probably just going to play that in my spare time now, because I need the slot on the channel. I'm going to be putting, like I say, it's going to be Great War, Western Front. I've got the games I've revisited that I'll be putting on during my holidays, just as something that I've got on that I've already filmed, so that I don't have to be refilming while I'm on holiday and that. I've got, I think it was We Who Are About to Die and Age of Darkness I've revisited with the new characters. Oh, it's a good job that I'm getting into coughing fits at the end of the video rather than it being all the way through. Right, I'm gonna have a sup of my tea now. Ought to clear my throat a bit. Right, yeah. So I've got them coming up, and I think after that, it's probably going to be a combination of Great War, Western Front. I'm looking at maybe doing some Phantom Brigade, because I've got that as well recently. And we'll see where we go from there. Darkest Dungeon will continue until I beat it. I mean, I'm literally just the other day been filming myself getting toward the third boss fight, so we'll see how far that goes. Should be able to beat it. I might try to do it as well. Maybe not the whole thing, but I might, if I beat it with the Radiant Light, I might try and unlock one of the harder difficulty lights and try to do the final boss on that as well. And it'll give us an opportunity as well to see some more hero backstories while we're riding around. So, quite a bit more planned, quite a bit more that I'm expecting to do. And I'll just let this final day play out for you here. You can, just so you can appreciate this, by the way, I think there's been a total of, over 10 hours worth of footage I've had to sift through here. I've managed to condense it down to about a third of that size and length. It's been a bit ridiculous. This has consumed, well, yeah, doing all this recording things. It has been a task. Putting this video together, just this video, has consumed my entire Sunday on the weekend. Luckily, it's a bank holiday weekend, so I've at least got Monday. But yes, I hope you appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thanks for the 100 subscribers. Who knows, maybe we'll be filming a anniversary, survive for 1,000 days and don't starve soon enough. I'll see you in future videos. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you then.